contact FIVEaa.com.
High-level talks between Ukraine and Russia have been held on the Belarus border. Ukraine's initial aim was an immediate ceasefire and the withdrawal of Russian forces from the country. It's unclear how much progress was made, but representatives from both sides have agreed to engage in further consultation. The ruble has plunged after the US hit Russia with its hardest sanction yet, cutting off the nation's central bank. US correspondent Alison Petrowski has more.
The move preventing any US dollar transactions, blocking direct investments and stopping Russia from accessing the $630 billion rainy day fund that was propping up their national currency. The ruble plummeting 30%. It's now worth less than 1 US cent. The State Department announcing it would suspend all operations in Belarus as it appears the country is preparing to deploy troops into Ukraine to support a Russian invasion. President Joe Biden hosting a secure call this morning with partners and allies, including the leaders of Germany, Canada, Italy and Japan, to discuss the latest developments.
The Brisbane River peaked again overnight as a major flood warning remains in place in Queensland. It has since dropped back but will likely rise again with the next high tide after 9 this morning. The death toll in Queensland from the flooding stands at 8. And SES volunteers have worked through the night in New South Wales, responding to hundreds of calls for help in the state's flooded north. It's been more than 24 hours since Lismore's levee failed, forcing hundreds of residents onto their roofs. SES Assistant Commissioner Sean Kearns says many people have been out in the wet ever since.
They're exhausted, they're tired, they're cold, they're hungry, and that's just the emergency services workers. The people who have been saved and rescued are in evacuation centres, who are also tired, hungry, cold and afraid.
Flooding is expected to ease in the north over the coming days as the low-pressure system moves down the coast. The first trial related to the January 6 riots is underway in the United States. Michael Genovese reports.
48-year-old Guy Riffett has pleaded not guilty to 5 charges, accused of obstructing Congress on January 6, 2021. Prosecutors say he brought a semi-automatic handgun to the Capitol and later threatened his children to stay quiet. The trial is considered a milestone in the exhaustive investigation. More than 750 people have now been charged after protesters delayed the certification of Joe Biden's 2020 election win.
The real-life Ramsay Street in Melbourne could be heritage protected. With neighbours set to wind up this year, local councillors have commissioned a report into protecting the 8 properties that make up the fictional street on screen. The cul-de-sac is located in Vermont South. Now to 5AA Sport, and it's good morning to Tom Wren.
And a very good morning to you as well, Mel. Let's start with football. Some relief for Port Adelaide with Connor Rosie and Scott Lycett expected to be okay to play in this Saturday's pre-season showdown against Adelaide. The pair both rolled their ankles in the loss against Gold Coast, but their injuries aren't serious, meaning they should be okay to play. Sam Powell-Pepper, though, won't be there as he continues to recover from a hamstring injury, while the Crows will be without gun recruit Jordan Dawson, who's nursing a sore calf. Still on footy, and Essendon champion Matthew Lloyd says 2022 could be a defining season for the Bombers.
Can Cox go again? Does Perkins go again? Yeah, we'll see, because now the honeymoon period for Rutten's over, the expectation, everyone's ready for the Bombers now. So now we'll see what they're truly made of.
Essendon's next pre-season hit-out will be against St Kilda on Saturday. Cricket Australia is dismissing a death threat levelled against Australian spinner Ashton Agar, warning him not to tour Pakistan. It claims the threat isn't credible and came from a fake social media account. And after some initial reluctance to act, the world football body FIFA has booted Russia out of qualifying for this year's World Cup over the invasion of Ukraine. UEFA has also cut Russian club Spartak Moscow from the Europa League. And that's the 5AA Sport.
Now the 5AA forecast.
Get amazing deals on Mitsubishi and used cars at Wayville Mitsubishi and Southern Mitsubishi, driven by Australian Motors.
A possible shower for you Tuesday, 27, partly cloudy tomorrow, 28, Thursday mostly sunny, 31. Right now it's 18 degrees. More news as it happens on 5AA.
Gliderall Garage Doors, adding strength, safety and style to South Australian homes for over 40 years. Gliderall.com.au.
You're listening to 5AA Breakfast. David Penberthy and Will Goodings.
5 minutes after 6, good morning to you. Welcome to Tuesday on 5AA Breakfast. We're going to chat with the Environment Minister David Spears after 6:30 this morning. It's been a year since single-use plastics were banned in South Australia. Did anyone notice? We've had a But our focus somewhat elsewhere on bigger fish, I imagine, over the last 12 months. But they disappeared. And if you remember a conversation we had with the Environment Minister at the time, it heralded a whole range of other things that were going to be banned potentially into the future. So we'll talk to him about that after 6:30 today. We're going to nominate some heroes before 7 o'clock, and we always invite you to be part of that segment and nominate a hero on this Tuesday morning. Phil Currie after 7. We'll chat with Chris Reason in Kiev. If you missed him yesterday, don't miss him today. He's the best reporter in this country. He's in Kiev. There has been the resumption of hostilities following the peace talks that took place for a period of time overnight. We will get the full rundown from him after 7:30 today. So make sure wherever you are, whatever you're doing, you come back for that. We're going to catch up with the SES about the bizarre and incredible rain event that happened in Adelaide's western suburbs yesterday, and also the 100th birthday of an Australian favourite, Cadbury. We're going to chat with a professor who's written about the history of... well, you know, you associate chocolate with fun, and it's going to be a lot of fun having that chat after 8:30. David Penberthy on his final day, locked away, fingers crossed. Good morning to you.
One rat away from freedom, Will.
One day more.
Well, no, this afternoon my daughter has one more day to wait. She's been isolating within the house away from us. So we've been in ISO, but she's been in even more ISO.
Double ISO.
Double ISO. So I've been, cooking a lot of flat foods that I can slide under the door for her. Spanish tortilla, pizza, pita bread, Turkish lakumans. You familiar with them?
No, I'm not familiar with the Turkish
minced
lakuman.
lamb.
Okay.
Turkish pizza. Minced lamb.
You haven't
pizza
literally
with
been
pine nuts
sliding
and
the food
parsley.
under the door, have you?
No, I've actually been going in there and saying hello to her and trying to hug her, and she runs away. She said, Dad, don't be an idiot.
But she doesn't.
I think we're going to pull through this one, Soph.
She didn't have it though, did she?
No.
Right.
But she was a closer contact.
Oh, right.
Of the boyfriend. So,
sounds to me like you've used an abundance of caution on this one.
Well, you can't be too careful. You can't be too careful. But yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing you tomorrow, mate. If everything
It'd be
goes
good.
According to plan. Now, I fully expected you as a resident of the western coastal suburbs to arrive at work this morning wearing flippers and a snorkel after yesterday. What the hell was that?
Well, I did kayak the first leg of the journey. It's actually drained away reasonably well.
Did you swim the Holbrooks Road this morning?
Yeah, to make it that far. Then I was able to proceed on foot. But it's actually drained away reasonably well. I was sitting in the lounge room in the afternoon yesterday when I've never seen anything like it in my life. It was just extraordinary. And in the moment I thought, well, maybe it's not. Maybe they've miscalculated on the rain forecast and we've had general rain across Adelaide. But then Matt Pantelis tweeted a picture of the satellite rain radar, and it was the most peculiar thing I've ever seen. The entirety of the state looks reasonably, almost clear, yet, and people have seen the radar before will know there's the colour code. So light blue gets to dark blue, gets to orange, red, and then basically it keeps going up in order of redness towards almost black. It just keeps getting darker and darker. There was basically a dark red dot just over Grange, Henley Beach and West Lakes. And it looked like, if you just looked at the satellite, you'd imagine there was some sort of an error. But if you were living in it, you realised it was frighteningly accurate. The rain came down with ferocity, 1, but 2, the wind changed halfway through. So one side of the house got smashed, then the other side of the house got smashed. We had the very street next to us in Grange was closed off, and the SES were in attendance. They had all the lights and the cones out. And I went to the Foodland at Henley Beach shortly after it dissipated. And I realised very quickly that it was all the streets, all the little side streets where we had experienced some degree of flooding. It was unbelievable.
Because I was looking at the footage originally, and most of this was people just walking around with their mobiles, and you sent me pictures too. But I thought that what had happened was that, is it the Sturt Creek or is it a tributary of the River Torrens? Well, it's probably both actually, I think. Not too far from you, where Charles Sturt's house is, that's like there's a tiny little bit of river there, isn't there? The
bit next to where we are is actually, everyone thinks it's the continuation of the Torrens because it looks like Linear Park, but it's not. It's overflow from the lake. So when the lake's up, it runs back towards Grange Road and goes past us. That's usually a little piddly creek. It looked like a lake. You could have had water sport on it. William in Mount Barker.
Because I know that area like the back of my hand from doing school pick up and drop off every day at Grange Primary.
Yeah.
My older kids were both going there and doing all the school footy and being down there on the weekends. Never seen anything like it.
It was bizarre. I've got pictures from people who live a street back in Grange from the railway line, and it honestly looks like, you know, without being silly about it, if you looked at it, you go, is this a back street of Lismore somewhere, or somewhere in Queensland, where obviously
people kayaking down Military Road to get the Hawaiian pack from Jack's Chicken.
William in Mount Barker's called in. Morning to you, William.
Good morning, David and Will. Just quickly, I wanted to reach out to you about yesterday. I was at my partner's house in Mansfield Park, and I had a big day at work, so I stopped off at her house on the way home, and basically I had the fan going 1 minute. Then I thought, the rain's starting to come down a little bit. I can see little bits of hail. Then I got a text message from my insurance company. You might want to shift the car. We're possibly having some hail coming. And then it just smashed us, and I'm not kidding you. You know your stormwater pipes that sit in the concrete and they collect the rain off the roof?
Yep.
I had rain and water coming out of there with a pressure that I've never seen before in my life. I reckon I've cleaned all my stormwater drains in 15, 20 minutes.
That's amazing. Your insurance company texting you when there's hail coming is pretty handy too.
Well, that's the first time, and I jumped insurance companies recently, and this never happened. What was it, late in last year when all those cars got damaged out north? So I'm with Budget Direct now, and I got a text message from there yesterday. So
that's pretty good.
I thought that was pretty cool, actually.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Well,
there you go.
We'd love to hear from other people
listening.
with stories.
Could be a live read in that.
Could well be. Yeah, we can make it official. 8223 is the number. If you live in one of those affected suburbs, or you're driving through the area and you got stuck in the middle of it, there is reports that it was between 40 and 80 mils of rain in 1 hour. 40 to 80 mils of rain in 1 hour. You know, this time yesterday we're talking about there being 8 mils of rain in Adelaide over the course of the 24 hours. So 40 to 80 mils in 1 hour. But Jess Braithwaite was saying yesterday, and we'll chat with her after 7:30 today, there was a lack of accurate recording because it's not so localised. So what we know, though, is our listeners have a lot of rain gauges. There's got to be someone in the western suburbs that's got a reading for us from yesterday and can put some science on this.
Listeners.
Yeah, that's right. Hendon, Seaton, Royal Park, West Lakes, everything in that sort of that pocket that absolutely copped it. 80 call-outs from the SES between 3 p.m. and 5 p.m. yesterday.
Conversely, here in Wayville, faint drizzle all day. I think there's a little brief period where it was a bit heavier, but it was the sort of rain you could walk around in and not get very wet.
Just bizarre. Just the most localised bit of rain. I encourage everyone to look at that Matt Pantelis tweet about the rain radar because it's just bizarre. 13 after 6, 8223 000 is the number. You can text us on the Telstra Storm Out Barker text line. I should say from the outset, and this should encourage a few to go out and have a geese at the rain gauge. It being the 100th birthday of Cadbury's, we have 5 boxes of favourites chocolates that we're just going to give randomly to listeners this morning. So your odds are pretty good of getting something today. Everyone's in the running. Every text, every call.
What's the line? The thing you bring when you're told not to bring a thing?
That's there you go. We're going to play some of the old advertising a little bit later over the course of the last 100 years. Some of it is just spectacular. 14 after 6, we'll get to the news headlines next.
We lost Dad to prostate cancer.
Breast cancer nearly took Mum away.
My little brother is living with leukemia.
My pa caught his bowel cancer early.
Make your donation as personal as your story. You can target the cancer that's hurt you most with Cancer Council SA. Learn more or donate at cancersa.org.au.
We're Lumo Energy SA, fully Australian-owned, locally focused, proud community partner of the Adelaide Fringe. Oh, and we have great deals on electricity and gas too.
And Lumo Rewards.
Ah yes, and local offers and discounts with Lumo Rewards. You really do get more with Lumo SA. Call 131 5866 or search Lumo. SA residential customers only. Lumo Energy SA not available in all areas. Eligibility criteria and conditions apply. See website for details.
Everybody loves their country.
I'm John Miller from Harcourt's Real Estate. What turns browsers into buyers is that wow factor. And there's nothing that brings instant appeal quite like the unique elegance of plantation shutters. For a highlight that adds value and lifts the look of any home, there's no better investment.
Improve, invest and add value with quality plantation shutters by Country. Visit countryblinds.com.au for a free measure and quote.
'Cause everybody loves their country.
What makes Ray White the big name in business broking? They're people, like multi-time SA Business Broker of the Year Brett Buckley and his team of business professionals. They take a deep dive into your business, finding value and potential, and they know what they're looking for because they know businesses. They're not real estate salespeople trying to sell businesses, they're business people selling businesses. If you want to know what your business is worth, touch base with Brett. Search Ray White Business Sales SA, multiple Business Broker of the Year awards.
Here at FIVEaa, we're all about supporting local. You can't get more local than Country Blinds. With manufacturing in the Adelaide Hills, showrooms at Unley, Henley Beach Road and Mount Barker, nobody knows local like Country Blinds.
9 News is the one that's always been live and local. 9 News, made in Adelaide for Adelaide.
Gliderroll Garage Doors' new Platinum and Native Series sectional doors are here. Gliderroll.com.au.
You're listening to 5AA Breakfast. David Penberthy and Will Goodings.
16 minutes after 6, getting a few pictures and text through on the Telstra Storm Mount Barker text line about that bizarre rain event in the western suburbs yesterday. Rob asked the question on the Telstra Storm Mount Barker text line, how's Mark Bickley's rain gauge faring? It might have blown away in the all the excitement. Not sure. Maybe if Bix is out there listening, he can give us an update. Tina has done precisely that. It says we got 40 mils in Woodville West, so it would have been 40 mils in under an hour in Woodville West, and you can see the damage done. The water, with a car parked on the street out front of what I imagine is Tina's place, the water's 2/3 of the way up the wheel. It's just remarkable. It looks like a lake, not a street. Thank you for that, Tina.
Woodville.
Woodville West. 40 mils there.
It's a pretty big area we're talking about then.
It's reasonable. 044808 1395. That is the Telstra Storm Mount Barker text line. Calls are growing for Melbourne to cut its sister city ties with the Russian city of St. Petersburg. The relationship has been in place since 1987, but due to Russia's invasion of Ukraine, the City of Melbourne is being urged to take a stand. The state government says it's a matter for the Lord Mayor there, who says all of their sister city relationships are under review. The first opportunity councillors could have to consider the issues at this evening's future Melbourne committee meeting. Does anyone beyond those who are on a council know what a sister city relationship actually achieves?
I think sister city relationships are primarily a vehicle so that councillors from different countries can fly to other countries at public expense and eat fine food and drink quality grog together.
Yeah.
I'm sure that there's been some trade benefits. Hopefully there's been some trade benefits, but I don't know. I mean, in the current climate, what are we, Adelaide, a sister city with, is it Guangzhou?
We've got a heap of them. Austin, we've got Austin, Texas in the United States, Christchurch, Georgetown, Malaysia. We've got a couple in.
So this is proving my hunch. That list already. I've never heard of a Western city, particularly in Australia. No council has ever said, let's set up a sister city relationship with Lagos, Nigeria.
Himeji,
all of these
Japan,
are places you want to go for a holiday.
Qingdao, China.
Qingdao.
Yeah, they're all on the list too. The United Nations estimates 500,000 people have fled Ukraine into neighbouring countries. Thousands more are believed to be sheltering inside Ukraine. The UNHCR spokesperson Shabir Mantou has told the BBC that the numbers are just astounding.
We're seeing 500,000 people who have actually fled Ukraine to neighbouring countries in the past 5 days alone. So this is a massive number of people with many of these stories and really seeking refuge in neighbouring countries that have actually displayed tremendous displays of hospitality towards these people.
Now, speaking of floods, the Brisbane River has peaked again overnight as a major flood warning remains in place in Queensland and obviously concerned too now in northern New South Wales. The Weather Bureau says the river rose to 3.4 metres. It's since dropped to 3.1 but will likely rise again with the next high tide between 9 and 10 a.m. this morning. Meanwhile, SES volunteers have worked through the night responding to hundreds of calls for help in New South Wales flooded north. It's been more than 24 hours since Lismore's levee overtopped, forcing hundreds of residents onto their roofs. Flooding is expected to ease in the state's north over coming days as the low-pressure system there moves down the coast. Sydney forecast to receive heavy falls tonight. And search efforts will continue today for a man missing in the state's far north. A pair were reported missing near Finnis Springs, south of Kalana on Sunday. South of Kalana? I've not been to Kalana before.
Never heard of it.
Rescue crews found the woman yesterday afternoon, but the man she was travelling with is still missing. And today,
how's it spelled?
C-A-L-L-A-N-A.
Kalana. I'll do a quick Google search on the maps.
And today marks 1 year since the Royal Commission tabled its report into aged care. The United Workers Union Aged Care Director, Carolyn Smith, is repeating calls for workers to have better pay and conditions.
It is really not that complicated. Aged care workers tell me if we had enough staff to provide quality care and decent wages, this would be my dream job and I would stay in it for life.
17.8 degrees outside at the moment. I tell you what, across the country, it's a mild start to the day. 17.8 actually makes us almost the coolest capital in the country. Canberra's 17.6. Everything else has got a 2 in front of it. For the rest of the day, we'll get to that point. 27 will be the top for Adelaide today, with potentially up to 3 mils of rain coming a little bit later. Tomorrow, 28, Thursday, 31, Friday will drop back down to 26, Friday, 25 with possibly another little splash of rain, Sunday, 24 and cool, and then Monday it will be 25.
Kalana is in the states far north, 400 k's north of Port Augusta. So, up sort of around Lake Torrens, just past Lake Torrens National Park. A very, very long way away.
22 minutes after 6, 8223 0000 is the number. Speaking of numbers this morning, just extraordinary numbers that you've seen in your lifetime over the course of history. The 40 to 80 mils in an hour in about 5 suburbs of Adelaide is just a crazy number. The other crazy number, we'll talk more about the Ukraine situation after 7 o'clock. You see what happened to interest rates in Russia yesterday?
But didn't they go from 10% to 20%?
Yeah, 9.5% to 20%. They went up to 20%. We've had elections in Australia change because of a 0.5% change or a 0.25% change. Imagine the whole thing doubling. We've spoken to Koshy before in the past in Australia about the built-in buffer zone that exists in mortgages. There's about 2% most people have got to play with. 10%? A 20% interest rate happening overnight. I double-checked it every time I read it yesterday.
The closest we've got to that in the modern era was the late 80s after the stock market crash, and Keating famously, as Treasurer, said this is the recession Australia had to have, earning him the enduring ire of a lot of small businesses and a lot of homeowners too. But it was around the 20% mark then. But you and I, mate, we're blessed. I bought my first house in 1992, and I think at the time rates were, from memory, I think they were about 8 or 9%.
Yep.
Like they were still staggeringly high by today's standards. But we do have an entire generation now in Australia that thinks that interest rates don't even get within cooey of 5%. And but the reason they're doing this in Russia is just the chucking money at the ruble to prop it up. But it's the military part of this war is sort of beyond arming Ukraine. The West is doing everything it can to avoid getting mired in some sort of conflict, direct hand-to-hand conflict with Russia. But it feels like the economics of it. We're off to a flyer with that. Like the entire Russian banking system is utterly stuffed because they've been kicked off that SWIFT system, which is basically like NetBank for big business and the mega rich. SWIFT is like, think of it like a PayPal type thing. It's an encrypted thing that lets big rich people and big businesses shuffle money around the world. Russia can't use it. So you've got no way of taking money out. You've got no way of putting money in. And it's remarkable the immediate effects that's having.
It is. It's actually quite scary for people on the ground that might have had no desire whatsoever to prosecute this war in Ukraine. Just looking at the history of Australian interest rates. So May 1st, 1974, we're about 8%. I'm trying to get a sense of, the quickest period over which we've had a 10% increase in interest rates. 8%, May 1, 1974, it got up to 17% in the early June 1, 1989. So it was sort of over a 15-year period, they eventually got up to 17%. There were some jumps and troughs there, but generally in a short period of time of, say, a year, you might have got 3%, 3.5% in that period. This was 10% in one day. Unbelievable. 25 after 6, a short break. Tom Wren in a moment.
The wait is nearly over. You can feel the excitement building across the city. The 2022 AFL season is back. For the best seats in the house this season, become an Adelaide Oval football member. With unrivaled access into the Western Stand, adult memberships start at $560. This is a red-hot opportunity for SA footy fans. To secure the best value memberships in footy today, visit adelaideoval.com.au/membership.
No one likes to wait, especially if you're waiting for something really amazing, like a new Mazda. Lucky, you won't have to wait too long at Mawson Lakes Mazda. Right now, you'll find new stock and demos right across the range, which means there's no compromise. You'll get everything you want and love in your new Mazda. Get behind the wheel of your dream Mazda sooner. Mawson Lakes Mazda, just a short drive from the city.
Explore Australia's biggest arts festival at Adelaide Fringe from the 18th of February to the 20th of March. With over 1,000 shows, act now and get your tickets. Supported by principal partner Bank SA. Search Adelaide Fringe today.
The passing of someone close places unique stress on family and friends. At this time, Farrell and O'Neill Funerals are here to provide reassurance and peace of mind. Farrell and O'Neill offer creative guidance and advice to tailor a service that best honours your loved one. Whether a large gathering or a small, intimate service, Farrell and O'Neill share their generations of experience in tailoring a unique and meaningful farewell. Proudly SA family owned and operated, because it's personal.
There are nights when you enjoy listening to quiet, empty streets. Then there are nights when all you want to hear is a siren in the distance.
SA ambulance, what's your emergency?
Oh, but please help. My daughter's not breathing. I need an ambulance.
I'm organising...
The Marshall government cut $11 million of ambulance service funding in its first 2 years, leaving our ambulance service in crisis. South Australians are dying for more ambos.
Authorised L. Watkins Ambulance Employees Association of SA, Adelaide.
5AA Breakfast is streaming live right now. To watch, simply head online to 5AA Facebook or search 5AA on YouTube.
Gliderall Garage Doors, adding strength, safety and style to South Australian homes for over 40 years. Gliderall.com.au.
You're listening to 5AA Breakfast. David Penberthy and Will Goodings.
28 minutes after 6. Tom Wren's in the 5AA Breakfast studio with us, talking sport. Morning to you, Rennie.
Morning, Will. Morning, David. Fellas, I know we've spoken a lot about Ukraine, and rightly so, but it is really entering the sporting sphere as well, and some really emotional scenes yesterday. Benfica, Portuguese club, they had a player, a Ukrainian forward called Roman Yaremchuk, forgive my pronunciation, but he came on in the 60th minute, was given the captain's armband, and the crowd response was just phenomenal. Have a listen. Standing ovation. He actually started crying on the pitch. It was extraordinary scenes.
I always find it weirdly, really, really moving when you see the tributes at sport. There was, I think, in Bradford over the weekend as well. There was two Ukrainian blokes who played against each other and sort of hugged. And then there was somewhere else where in England where they sang the anthem. Or they play it's really emotional.
And maybe it goes back to that primal level of sport. We're always told, it's a battle and us against them. But when you put it into context of what's happening in the real world at the moment, it's just a game, and why can't we all just get along? I know the world's not that simple. But this
is where I reckon, Tom, the FIFA, the IOC, all of these groups that, as I said quite seriously the other day, historically have had links to authoritarian governments, fascists, extreme militaristic sort of regimes, and so on. They've got to respond to the public mood across the world on all of this, because the idea now, you think back just to what was it, 4 years ago, that Russia could use the Soccer World Cup as a chance to showcase itself as some vibrant and modern society, when Putin talking about the denazification of Ukraine and so on. This guy's a medieval lunatic.
Yeah.
Like, he's just utterly brutal. And I think sport is one of the big ways to hurt them big time. And I think that it's going to be driven by the fans, because you don't want to see them puffing their chests out playing for the glorious Russian state. I mean, stuff them.
Yeah, it's a great point, and I think FIFA have finally caught up. All Russian national and club football teams, David, have been suspended from international competition. The two governing bodies, FIFA and UEFA, announcing the ban to punish the invasion of Ukraine. So I think finally, after a fair bit of backlash over their lack of action in the last 24 to 48 hours, they're catching up, and I think some of that sentiment you're talking about is finally caught on.
Good on you, Rennie.
Thanks, boys. Good stuff.
Great stuff, Tom.
Right on 6:30. 5AA News is on the way. Back with more in just a moment.
This is Adelaide's 5AA.
A possible shower 27 today with the 6:30 news. I'm Mel Usher.
Physio Extra offers clinical Pilates and group exercise classes claimable on private health. 6 locations. physioextra.com.
Ukraine's capital is facing further attacks from Russia as delegates from both sides plan further de-escalation talks. Carrie-Anne Greenbank reports from Kiev.
In the past hour, we've heard numerous air raid sirens here in Kiev, with reports of a Russian strike on the outskirts of the city. The huge blast coming soon after a halt in the peace talks between Ukraine and Russia. Both sides have agreed to keep talking and say they will meet in the next few days. The Ukrainian government says earlier today dozens of civilians were killed in a missile strike on Kharkiv, Ukraine's second largest city. The UN says more than 500,000 refugees have now fled Ukraine for neighbouring countries, as President Zelenskyy signs an EU membership application, urging the EU to grant his country immediate access to the bloc.
In other developments, Moscow says countries sending military equipment to Ukraine will be responsible if they're used against Russian forces. All of Russia's national and club football teams have been suspended from international competition, and Airbnb says it will offer free short-term housing for up to 100,000 refugees fleeing Ukraine. Well, the flood crisis continues in southeast Queensland and northern New South Wales. Sydney is now being warned it's next in line for severe weather, with damaging winds and heavy rainfall expected. Bianca Balzer has more.
The system battering southeast Queensland and northern New South Wales is now drifting south. It's forecast to move off the mainland, strengthening as it travels parallel to the coast. It's expected to hit central and southeastern Sydney sometime this evening or into tomorrow. The Weather Bureau is warning of intense rainfall that could lead to life-threatening flash flooding, while damaging winds could see gusts hit up to 125 kilometres an hour.
The rush to get kids vaccinated against COVID has slowed in SA. 1,372 under-11s were jabbed last week, compared to 21,000 in the last week of January. It comes as more kids are absent from school, either with COVID or due to close contact rules. Meantime, Family First is calling for an immediate end to COVID vaccine mandates. Upper House candidate Tom Kenyon says it's time to follow some other Western countries and relax the rules.
We think they're counterproductive. All they're doing at the moment is withholding good public servants, people, first responders, fire, police, nurses, teachers, all being withheld from the people of South Australia because of vax mandates that are no longer needed.
The search for a man missing in the state's far north will resume today. Family reported a pair missing on Sunday. It's believed their four-wheel drive became bogged near Finnis Springs. The woman was found yesterday, but the man she was travelling with is still missing. Now turning to 5AA Sport, and it's over to Tom Wren.
Thank you, Mel. A blow for Adelaide recruit Jordan Dawson, who's been ruled out of this weekend's pre-season clash against Port with a calf complaint. He missed last week's practice match because he was caught up in the COVID outbreak at the club, but he is still expected to be okay for round 1 against Fremantle. Meantime, Port Adelaide should have Scott Lycett and Connor Rosie available for this weekend's pre-season clash, but Sam Powell-Pepper will miss because of a hamstring injury. Still on footy, and Richmond GM of Football Performance Tim Livingston says they're not putting a ceiling on how good they can be this season.
We're hoping we can be very good. We don't put ceilings on anything, but we're really excited to see a lot of boys out on the track playing against Geelong on Saturday. A lot of those guys that it feels like haven't played together for a fair bit. So, we're excited about the season going ahead.
The Tigers will play Hawthorn in another pre-season matchup in Devonport on Saturday. All of Russia's national and club football teams have been suspended from international competitions. The two governing bodies, FIFA and UEFA, announced the ban to punish Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Russia's national side was due to take part in a playoff next month for a place in the 2022 World Cup. And the Perth Wildcats have snapped a 3-game losing streak in the NBL after getting over the Tassie Jack Jumpers 89-78. And that's the 5AA Sport.
Now the 5AA forecast.
Get amazing deals on Mitsubishi and used cars at Wayville Mitsubishi and Southern Mitsubishi, driven by Australian Motors.
27 today and a possible shower, partly cloudy tomorrow 28, then Thursday mostly sunny 31 degrees. Right now it's 18. More news as it happens on 5AA.
Gliderol Garage Doors new Platinum and Native Series sectional doors are here. Gliderol.com.au.
You're listening to 5AA Breakfast. David Penberthy and Will Goodings.
24 minutes to 7. Power outage situation in the north at Clearview, Jeps Cross, Northfield, Paraka and Walkley Heights. It's expected to be back on in just under an hour at about 7:30. That's what SA Power Networks are saying. 1,532 customers affected. A cause unknown at this point in time, but we've had some calls from people saying it's affecting some streetlights out that way as well. So just be wary of it, and we'll let you know as there are any updates to that estimated restoration time. Lots of good texts coming through on the Telstra Still Mount Barker text line as well. And just to give you some sort of way of contrast to that really peculiar rain situation in the western suburbs yesterday, we received a text earlier from Tina who said Woodville West got about 40 mils of rain in that hour. Check the rain gauge at Brighton, says Barry at Brighton, 0.0. Got absolutely nothing yesterday, dry as anything.
Extraordinary.
It's Brighton to Woodville West. It's not like we're talking, Darwin to Adelaide away.
No.
Now, we also got a text from Chris and another unnamed text talking about 17% interest rates in the context of what's happened in Russia with that extraordinary 10% increase overnight. They both talking about the period in the 80s where they were paying 17%. One person says I paid 17% on our first mortgage of $48,000. Funny the numbers you do remember. We're talking the extraordinary and memorable numbers of history and life. Everything from the Don Bradman average to the interest rate rise yesterday in Russia, numbers that you just instantly recall. This one is peculiar. I hadn't heard this story. You might have, David. Mark from Parry Hill says, guys, Kostyazu's ex-wife is in Russia seeing her elderly mother, and she's saying she's only got $5 left that she can access in her bank accounts because of the sanctions that are happening there at the moment. So
$5.
I hadn't heard. Confess, I hadn't heard that story. Thank you. Let's talk about any number that has to do with dates at the moment makes you think, hang on, was that a year ago? Was that 10 years ago? Or was it a week ago? Everything's sort of, your frame of reference for when stuff happens is kind of gone. But it is March the 1st, 2022 today. This day last year, South Australia became the first state in Australia to ban plastic drinking straws, stirrers, cutlery. It all went the way of the dodo. I genuinely asked the question, has anyone noticed? There was a few hang-ups at the time, but I don't think it's caused a massive issue. I was never a big fan.
I think straw technology is improving.
It has.
I can remember a few early encounters with those cardboard straws when I picked up my sort of monthly quarter-pounder meal with bacon and extra pickles, thank you. The straws they were using at Macca's early on would sort of melt in your mouth. But they're a lot better now.
They have improved. The Environment Minister, David Spears, was behind the move, and he joins us now on 5AA Breakfast. Minister, good morning to you.
Good morning.
What's next?
Well, today, being the 1st of March 2022, is when we do the next tranche. Two big chunks of things go today. The polystyrene takeaway stuff, a lot of that's been phased out already because businesses are in front, but from today, we're banning those clamshell containers that you get your fish and chips in, things like that. And also the other thing that we're banning today is what I would describe as a bit of greenwash, items that are oxo-degradable or biodegradable, because a lot of people think those are good, but that simply means that they are a piece of plastic that is treated to break up into many pieces of plastic. And it's arguable that one plastic bag floating in the ocean is better than a plastic bag that's broken into 1,000 pieces floating in the ocean. We don't want anything floating in the ocean, obviously, but we're dealing with those greenwash items that break up into lots of little pieces and actually become more of an environmental problem. So that's the latest tranche in this ban.
Minister, what about when you go to the food court or you go to your local Asian takeaway, or indeed these days, speaking as someone who's in ISO and has ordered Thai in the last week, you end up with 7 of those rectangular plastic containers that seem to be like they have a half-life nearing that of plutonium. Is there any plan to control the use of them? Because they seem to be absolutely ubiquitous in the fast food space.
Yeah, well, we have a discussion paper out at the moment because we're very ambitious for these laws that looks at the tranche moving into September 2022 and then the 1st of March 2023. So we're doing this in a sort of methodical way, and we've just closed the consultation on that discussion paper, looking at all those additional items. And 95% of people are supportive of us going a lot further on this. We've seen a big culture change very, very quickly. In fact, most businesses are running ahead of the government now. I think we still need the legislation. We still need these bans to goad people to action. But because customers are demanding change so quickly, businesses are running out in front, which is great to see.
Minister, thank you. Environment Minister David Spears on the day that there'll be further changes to the sorts of things you can use. I don't think I've seen any of those sorts of old-fashioned cups going at coffee places or anything like that for quite a while now. He's right when he says business is ahead of it. I can't think when I saw the last one.
I've got to say, though, the idea of putting a beautifully crisp piece of King George whiting or some excellent chips or some of those, particularly the hand-cut potato fritters, if you're lucky enough to, as a lot of our listeners would in Semaphore know, one of the best things about going to Soto's, which got voted Fish and Chip Shop of the Year in the Tysers poll only a few weeks ago, the hand-cut potato fritter. Now, the moment you put one of them into a clam-shaped plastic thing, it starts sweating.
Yeah.
And some of my best memories as a kid involved going to the old fish and chip shop at the bottom end of Marion Road there, down just over Sturt Road. It was a Sunday night tradition. If not weekly, then at least fortnightly. We'd go there, we'd buy fish and chips, and we'd drive up to there used to be this old wooden cross that some religious folks put up on top of the old South Road just before you get to O'Halloran Hill, and it was a lookout over the city of Adelaide. And the short trip from the fish shop at what is now the Marion Road entry to the Southern Expressway up to that cross, Dad was so passionate, he'd go, tear the bag open to let the chips breathe. and the chips came in paper. Getting fish and chips in paper and tearing a little vent in the bag, they stay crisp. So why put them in plastic anyway? You just wreck them.
Yep. 17 to 7. Rob on the Telstra Storm Out Barker text line says, being in the waste industry, the little plastic fish you get your soy sauce in with sushi and the sauce packets with pies, they're really hard items that because people can't share bottles in COVID. So maybe COVID's contributing to an environment where we're using more of that sort of disposable stuff that the government's trying to get rid of.
Maybe you can. If buffets are back, maybe you can share things.
Yeah. Mark's called in on the a traffic situation. Morning to you, Mark.
Yeah, how are you, mate?
Good, mate. What have you seen?
There's just been a couple of crashes on the downhill on the Southern Expressway heading down into Darlington, so just everyone take care.
Separate incidents, mate?
Yeah, 2 separate incidents. There's a 3-car pile-up and a 1-car pile-up as well. A 2-car pile-up.
Police on the scene?
Not yet.
Not yet. And is traffic banked up or is it off away to the side?
Yeah, it's banked up.
Okay, Mark, thank you for that, mate. Appreciate it. We're going to chat with SAPOL in just a moment. We'll get the latest on those situations. But do call us if you see anything out in your travels. 8223 0000 is the number. You can text us as well on the Telstra Storm Out Barker text line 0448 08 13 95. We've got a big picture look at the traffic now. And when we return, SAPOL and the Weather Bureau will join us.
Morning, Will. This morning, got lights out in a few spots around the area. Green Junction Road and Prospect Road at Kilburn, at Paraka, Main North Road near Diagonal Road, and at Walkley Heights, Bridge Road and South Terrace. Semaphore South, got some urgent sewer works there. Military Road near Bower Road, restrictions in place. And Theberton, look out for road plates causing a hazard on Port Road near George Street. Speeds out of 40 k's. Cameras, Brighton Road, Brighton, Toothy Street, Melbourne. Enjoy your favourite Mexican food with Guzmani Gomez and save. Score yourself burritos and bowls for just $9.90. Yes, just $9.90 when you order via the GYG app. Adelaide's most accurate traffic on 5AA.
What starts with A and ends with E? Supplements for you and me.
FIVEaa health supplements are now available at leading chemists and health food stores nationwide. Ask for FIVEaa at your favourite pharmacy.
G'day, it's Jared Walsh for Wayville Mitsubishi. Wow, there's some exciting stuff happening. The iconic Wayville Australian Motors Mitsubishi Service Centre on Goodwood Road is going through a spectacular rebuild. So while that's in progress, please drive into Davenport Lane to drop your vehicle off for servicing. As always, you can expect the very best servicing and repairs, so it's business as usual. Just drive into Davenport Lane to drop your vehicle off to the incredible Wayville service team, driven by Australian Motors.
Well, we mentioned on Friday that Classical Mystery Tour, this terrific show, had won the Adelaide Fringe Week 1 Best Music Award. No wonder Classical Mystery Tour is one of the most popular shows at this year's Fringe. All you need is love, as the Beatles say, and now a ticket to that now award-winning Beatles show.
I'll tell you what, well, you might need love, but you don't need a new T-shirt. We got given these excellent T-shirts. I'm wearing one now. Viewers on the live stream can see it. The All You Need Is Love fashionable tee, very coveted item. But if you can't get the T-shirt, you can still get tickets to the show, and it's had rave reviews, but time's running out. There's only 5 shows remaining. Classical Mystery Tour, it's an all-Adelaide 21-piece rock band and orchestra's take on the Beatles' hit-laden 1967 album, Magical Mystery Tour.
And we're talking about the real classics. They play them all. Penny Lane, Strawberry Fields Forever, I'm the Walrus, Fall on the Hill, All You Need Is Love, and more.
That's right. Classical Mystery Tour, That Beatles Show, 6:30pm, the outdoor venue at the Moa in Gluttony.
There are only 5 shows remaining. Tickets at fringetix.com.au.
We all want a better life, and to be able to enjoy it in our own homes. If you or a loved one need some help to enjoy a better life at home, Southern Cross Care is here for you. Our home care services are led by qualified and compassionate health professionals who will help you take care of yourself, your health, your home and your garden. To find out more, visit southerncrosscare.com.au. Southern Cross Care. Better for life at home.
9 News is the one that's always been live and local. 9 News, made in Adelaide for Adelaide.
Gliderall Garage Doors, adding strength, safety and style to South Australian homes for over 40 years. Gliderall.com.au.
You're listening to 5AA Breakfast. David Penberthy and Will Goodings.
13 to 7, Tom Bowick, senior forecaster at the Weather Bureau, is on the line. Tom, good morning to you.
G'day, Dave and Will.
Before we get to today, can we just talk a little bit about what the hell happened yesterday? That was... I live in Grange, and it looked like floodwaters around my place in the middle of the afternoon. Did you see it coming, and what accounts for such a localised and massive rain event?
Yeah, well, look, the overall pattern was this upper level low pressure system and a surface trough. And, when you get those sorts of situations, the weather sort of has to focus in one particular area, or it doesn't have to, but it often does. So, and yesterday we did have sort of a sea breeze along the coast there, and the boundary of where the sea breeze was coming in and where the normal, I guess, southeasterly airstream was happening yesterday is a good spot to sort of focus the thunderstorm activity, and that sort of did happen in those western areas yesterday. So we don't actually have any rain gauges directly over that sort of Seaton, Grange, Findon sort of area there, but look, I think there probably was some falls around the 40 millimetre mark, wouldn't be surprised. Some of the ones where we did have gauges not in that area, we got some totals, 17.2 at Banksia Park there near Tichu Gully. There was 21 millimetres at Crapers West, 19 millimetres at South Para Reservoir, so quite sporadic sort of falls. But other places, I live south and we had hardly anything, so just 0.2 of a millimetre or so. So it's certainly highly variable weather yesterday through the metropolitan area, guys.
And what about today and then the rest of the week, Tom?
Yeah, okay, look, not expecting anything as outstanding today, but there is still going to be some shower activity developing through the morning. It's pretty clean radar at the moment, but there is going to be a medium chance of showers developing from sort of the late morning as we get a bit of heat into the day and into the afternoon. We do still have a chance of a thunderstorm on the forecast. I think it's probably only a very slim chance at this stage, but it is a possibility, and we're not expecting as much rain as yesterday through the metropolitan area for those areas that did get the heavier totals. 27 for a maximum today. Also the same at Elizabeth, Glenelg and Noarlunga, 25 for Mount Barker. Then we're getting into dry weather again and warming up, 28 for Wednesday, 31 for Thursday. A milder change will be coming through, however, later in the week. Just a chance of a shower for Friday, but back at 26. And then the weekend, chance of a shower for Saturday, 25. We're back at 24 for Sunday, and Monday also 25. So getting into the mid-20s late in the week and into the weekend, guys.
Good on you, Tom. Thank you for that. Senior forecaster Tom Bowick at the Weather Bureau. Let's head to SAPOL. Senior Constable Matt Brown's on the line. Matt, the search for a missing man in the far north continues today.
That's right, Will. Police were first alerted to a man and woman missing near Finnis Springs, which is south of Kalana, out near Roxby Downs, about 2:30 p.m. on Sunday the 27th of February, after family were unable to contact them. Now, family members had travelled to the area while local police assisted with a search, which intensified yesterday with a ground and air search using local police, Pol Air, and also local station owners in the region. It's believed the pair separated when their four-wheel drive became bogged near Junction Dam on Stewart Creek Station, about 90 k's north of Roxby Downs on Saturday. And the man rode off on a motorbike to seek assistance while the woman remained with the four-wheel drive. After waiting several hours for him to return, the woman left the four-wheel drive on foot and was located around 1:15 p.m. yesterday in a creek line about 100 k's north of Roxby. So rescuers made their way to the area, and the woman was taken to Roxby Downs Hospital, where she was treated for dehydration. But Pol Air and a fixed-wing aircraft are going to continue to search the area starting at first light today, along with other local patrols and local members of the community out there. So hopefully the man's found safe and well.
Absolutely, Matt. Thank you. Senior Constable Matt Brown from SAPOL. You'll be interested in this, David. I've got a text here through from Charmaine on the Telstra Store Mount Barker text line saying, "Good morning. I certainly didn't know, and some of your listeners probably don't either, but I learnt from a mate in the wine industry that the SWIFT sanctions, this is the banking system, the high-end banking system that all European countries use to process transactions, that actually directly affects us here too, as some well-known and smaller businesses in SA send their product." And in brackets, Charmaine says, Russia became a lot of businesses' biggest export market when China started sanctioning our produce. To Russia have now no way of being paid for it. In some cases, it's millions of dollars worth. So we've got a lot of people listening in the wine industry. I wonder if anyone who's listening has been directly affected by that and now won't be able to get payment for either goods rendered or some sort of future consignment. 8223 0000. If you don't want to go on air, you don't have to, but we'd just like to get some background on that. If there are some South Australian businesses that have been affected by those sanctions. I had to laugh yesterday when China came out saying that they don't agree with the use of economic sanctions, illegal economic sanctions to sort of coerce behaviour of governments. It's generally one of the funniest things I've ever heard.
That was that dweeb foreign minister at, was he at the UN? I saw the guy. He looked
there was
like
a couple of them that they tweeted
some sort of, Communist Party suck who'd sort of crawled his way up to some medium echelon position. But yeah, I was watching that late last night on CNN, I think, or I sort of do a three-way jump between CNN, Fox and BBC to get a slice of this story, and indeed all stories from every angle. And I laughed so loud, I think I woke the kids up. It was just the most audacious comment, utterly devoid of self-awareness, given what they've done to our lobster farmers and our wine growers and, barley.
Just hilarious.
You name it.
50 mils of rain, Margaret says she recorded in Grange yesterday. Thank you, Margaret. We're trying to get an accurate reading because the Bureau doesn't have any gauge there. Our listeners do, though. We've got some numbers coming in. 8223 0000 or text us on the Telstra Store Mount Barker text line. Those are your avenues to nominate heroes as well, because Hero of the Week time next.
I was quite sporty as a kid, but always had trouble with my crunchy knees. And then one day the right knee completely locked. My GP advised me to see a surgeon, so I went on the internet and thankfully found the Joint Replacement Clinic, who explained I needed total knee replacement. That was the bad news. But because of my medical insurance, there was no gap, not a single expense. And with the new knee, I'm swinging the old clubs again.
Ask your GP or visit thejointreplacementclinic.com.au. Renewing mobility, restoring life.
I'm Travis Denham from Again Real Estate. It's often just one special feature that helps spark interest in a home. Outdoor blinds used to create entertaining areas really set a home apart. They add extra appeal to patios and alfresco areas, an investment that adds value for sure.
Improve, invest and add value with quality outdoor blinds by Country. Visit countryblinds.com.au for a free measure and quote.
Everybody loves their country.
Adelaide property values are at an all-time high. They've grown by more than 25% over the past 12 months, with really strong buyer demand. In most areas, demand is greater than supply, with vendors regularly getting multiple offers for home, with sold prices well above expectations.
Now, we know that our friends at Toop and Toop work across all suburbs, and we can tell you that right now in Torrens Park, they're working with 4,928 buyers, 5,221 in Prospect and 5,011 in Tusmore. And they're all searching for their perfect property in these specific locations.
If you're thinking of selling and would like to know how many buyers Toop and Toop are working with in your suburb, go to toop.com.au.
5AA Breakfast is streaming live right now. To watch, simply head online to 5AA Facebook or search 5AA on YouTube.
Gliderroll Garage Doors' new Platinum and Native Series sectional doors are here. Gliderroll.com.au.
You're listening to 5AA Breakfast. David Penberthy and Will Goodings.
4 to 7, we've been talking extraordinary stats and numbers on the program this morning. Here's one for you. We've got a third crash on the freeway this morning. We've just got a call from Steve, who said, oh no, this is a third accident on the Southern Expressway. Steve says, we had Mark call in a little bit earlier. 3 accidents this morning. Steve making the plea to people, please slow down. We'll keep across those and get you across traffic over the course of the next half hour on the program. Hero of the week time. If you'd like to nominate one, 8223 0000. You can text us on the Telstra Stormont Park at text line. Sam's in the studio. Morning to you, Sam.
Morning, Will. Morning, David.
Hey, Sam.
We all know that radio stations, they are run a lot of people behind the scenes to make it all work. And this guy has been nominated a few times, I reckon, last year. But my hero of the week is Lockie the Tech.
Yep.
Oh, yes.
Because David made us all scramble. Get the gear ready to broadcast from home, runs it out, and then was it Thursday morning?
Yeah.
5:55, he can't connect to us. We give Lockie a call, wake him up. So
yeah,
Lockie,
always
hero of the
on
week.
call. Yeah, techs are often the hero, certainly in these troubled times. Who's your hero, David?
Well, I actually had Lockie on the list as well, because he heroically walked me through how to use the gear. Not that it seemed to do me much good. Maybe it's because I got up a bit too late. Who knows? I guess we'll never know the answer to that one. Can we just stop the fight and give it to Volodymyr Zelenskyy?
Yeah, I think he is the hero of the week. Yes.
This bloke is the leader of the free world, as far as I'm concerned. He is an absolute legend. I love the guy. And what about his ballsy, constant media appearances? Apparently there's 400 mercenaries, some of them headhunted from such glorious places as Mozambique, who've been fighting a civil war there for 40 years by the Russian fascist state, with the express intention of just extrajudicially killing the man, killing a democratically elected leader. This is apparently what Russia is up to right now. 400 mercenaries, saboteurs, insurgents on the streets of Kiev, and this bloke keeps popping up, taking selfies outside buildings. The guy is a genuine hero.
We will get you across all the latest developments in Ukraine just after 7 o'clock, so if you want to know what's happening there, stay listening. Luce, who's your hero?
Couple of genuine heroes. Glenelg Surf Lifesavers stopped another drowning at Glenelg on the weekend. Three people were caught in a rip. One female was found face down, so they had to provide a bit of CPR, and no one. There were no fatals, I should say. My words aren't coming to me, but the Glenelg Surf Lifesavers stopped serious drowning of 3 people on the weekend. They are, I believe, fronting the media this morning, the Surf Lifesavers. So that's good on them. They're all being nominated for prizes again, rightly so. Good on them.
That's great. You went to newsreader mode for a second there, Luce. I noticed that.
I did.
Yeah.
I was thinking way too hard about what I was trying to say.
No,
we never make that mistake.
But yes, that's right. So good on the Glenelg Surf Lifesaving Club.
Worthy nomination. The SES turned up at the street next to me and a whole bunch of streets yesterday around the western suburbs to put up blockages, to put up signs to warn people away from going in the wrong areas. And there's a little bit of every SES report that we totally gloss over. And I heard it again at 6:30 this morning. Mel made the point. SES volunteers. This is a volunteer-based organisation. They were in our area within moments of the rain stopping. So within an hour, they'd closed up a lot of the flooded streets and were helping people getting out of properties in areas that were impacted by the rain. Now, this is. It's not like there's thousands of people that are instantly just on call sitting in head office somewhere waiting for a call out. These are volunteers that have to be mobilised. It's a remarkable logistical exercise, and they do a wonderful job, and that's why they get my nomination for Hero of the Week. And we're going to speak to them, in fact, after 8:45 this morning. 5AA News on the way. Latest from Ukraine next.
Online, on DAB Digital Radio, and on 1395 AM. Talking Adelaide. This is Adelaide's 5AA.
A possible shower 27 today with the 7 o'clock news. I'm Mel Usher.
Physio Extra Marion have a hydrotherapy pool now on site. Contact Physio Extra Marion or head to physioextra.com.
UN Secretary Antonio Guterres has called for a ceasefire in Ukraine at a rare emergency meeting of the General Assembly. Ukraine's ambassador has warned if his country is crushed, international peace and democracy are under threat. De-escalation talks between Russia and Ukrainian representatives have wrapped up on the border of Belarus. Both parties will return to their capital cities for consultation. Mr. Guterres says Russia's invasion must be brought to an end.
This escalating violence, which is resulting in civilian deaths, including children, is totally unacceptable. Enough is enough. Civilians must be protected.
The United Nations estimates 500,000 people have fled Ukraine to neighbouring countries. Thousands more are believed to be sheltering inside Ukraine. UNHCR spokesperson Shabia Mantou has told the BBC the numbers are astounding.
We're seeing 500,000 people who have actually fled Ukraine to neighbouring countries in the past 5 days alone. So this is a massive number of people with many of these stories and really seeking refuge in neighbouring countries that have actually displayed tremendous displays of hospitality towards these people.
In New South Wales, rescue operations are ramping up in flood-devastated Lismore. Clinton Maynard reports.
Hundreds of people have been rescued, but it's unclear how many still need help. Overnight it was feared there were still many stranded on rooftops. Formally, 1,300 people have registered as being affected by the floods in Lismore, but in reality the number is far higher than that. The local mayor is urging residents who've been evacuated not to go back home yet. Across the region there are flood warnings for the Tweed, Richmond and Clarence rivers. Here in Grafton, the Clarence is swollen at 7.6 metres and it's broken its banks in parts. Right at the pub here, water surrounds the building, but it is built on stilts and can handle this inundation. In the main street, many of the shops are now sandbagged and there are signs in the window not opening today.
An SA is sending a group of SES workers to New South Wales today to help with the flood crisis. They'll leave after 9 this morning and should be on the ground this afternoon. Australians lost $34 million to scams in January. Investment scams topped the list, followed by dating and romance scams. Proofpoint Senior Director Adrian Kovic says it's important we be more vigilant.
Australians are well connected to the internet. They're used to paying money through electronic means, and so scammers find them an attractive target. In addition to that, the scammers have got smarter about how they extract money from people.
And a big honour for Benedict Cumberbatch, the British actor receiving a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame this morning. Now turning to 5AA Sport, and it's over to our very own star, Tom Wren.
Thank you, Mel. He's a very good actor, isn't he? Love him. Anyway, let's start with football. Port Adelaide ruckman Scott Lycett is confident he should be okay to play in this weekend's pre-season showdown. He hurt his ankle in the Powers pre-season clash against Gold Coast, but he's told Channel 9 he's pulled up well.
Yeah, it feels all right. Yeah, not too bad. So haven't had a scan or anything. So I was a little bit sore at the time, yeah, but we'll just see how we go. Probably a good chance to still play this weekend.
Still on footy, and there's a lot of buzz about North Melbourne's midfield this season and how they might go in 2022. Former Crows forward Tom Lynch has joined the club as a development coach, and he's told Rowie he's loving his new role.
It certainly is a change of pace to what I've been doing, and
I'm loving the footy club. They've got a great history here, and there's a lot of great people. So I'm really enjoying coming in here and being back in Melbourne.
Usman Khawaja is treating this week's test against Pakistan as just another match. The veteran batsman, who was born in Pakistan, is part of the first Aussie cricket tour of the nation since 1998. Russia has been punted from World Cup qualifying by FIFA, and Spartak Moscow has been cut from the Europa League by UEFA. And Nikita Zoo's professional boxing debut has been delayed due to flooding in Brisbane. The younger son of Costa Zoo was due to fight Aaron Stahl tomorrow. And that's the 5AA Sport.
Now checking 5AA traffic.
At O'Halloran Hill, we've got a multi-car smash on the Southern Expressway. That's between Majors Road and Darlington on the down track. Pretty heavy delays. Avoid that if you can this morning. Stirling, a ute has lost its load on the freeway down track. Take care through there. Speeds have been reduced. Semaphore South, urgent still works. That's Military Road near Bower Road. Restrictions are in place there and speeds reduced with cameras this morning. Brighton Road, Brighton, and Duthie Street at Malvern. Adelaide, it's a fact. Everyone is driving their car more. Let UltraTune's technicians ensure your car is trouble-free and safe for the road. Search UltraTune for a service centre near you. Adelaide's most accurate traffic on 5AA.
Now the 5AA forecast.
Get amazing deals on Mitsubishi and used cars at Wayville Mitsubishi and Southern Mitsubishi, driven by Australian Motors.
Heading for a top of 27 today with a possible shower, partly cloudy tomorrow 28, Thursday mostly sunny 31. Right now it's 17 degrees. More news as it happens on 5AA.
Gliderall Garage Doors, adding strength, safety and style to South Australian homes for over 40 years. Gliderall.com.au.
You're listening to 5AA Breakfast. David Penberthy and Will Goodings.
6 minutes after 7, Phil Currie's coming up in the next 15 minutes to talk federal politics with Phil. Then after 7:30, we're off to Ukraine. We're off to Kiev. We'll chat with Chris Reason from 7 News. If you missed him yesterday, don't miss him today. He's in the thick of it. He's the best reporter in this country, and you're going to want his account of what's taking place as we speak. We're going to get you across all the broader developments that have taken place since you've been sleeping in just a few moments' time. And then after 8 o'clock today, we're going to have a bit of fun. We're going to be chatting about the 100 years of Cadbury in Australia with Professor Robert Crawford, who's written a book, More Than a Glass and a Half, a history of Cadbury in Australia. And today, to celebrate that, we've got 5 boxes of favourites chocolates to give away. Everyone who just contributes to the program's in the running. We'll announce 5 winners by the time we get to 9 o'clock. Now, I don't know.
Have you got a favourite Cadbury product, Will?
That's an excellent question. Depends on my mood. I'm partial to a Turkish Delight, actually.
Seriously?
Oh, yeah, I love Turkish Delight.
That puts you
I know. I'm a weirdo.
The esteemed company with about 0.5% of the population.
I know. You know how good it is being in that
can't
0.5%?
stand that stuff.
You know how good it is? Because everyone leaves them.
Yeah, nobody takes them.
It's a beautiful place to live in. It's just magnificent.
It's a bit like the black jelly bean.
Yeah, I don't mind them either. Now,
see, I don't really like chocolate except for dark roast almond chocolate. I always have a block. Mum always brings me one. When she comes around for dinner, and I don't even get through a block in a week. I eat 2 pieces a night.
We always struggle with maths on this program, so I hesitate to answer this question. Maybe we've got a maths expert listening. Maybe we should get Adam Spencer back on. Greg's texted in. I don't know, is this a reasonable and scientific way to measure the rain in the western suburbs yesterday, where the Bureau doesn't have a measuring device, a gauge, but they expect somewhere between 40 and 80 mils fell within an hour? Greg says, I left my wheelie bin lid open. The depth of the water in the bottom varied from 80 to 110 mils. Is that scientific? Is that just does that work like just a big rain gauge?
Well, I'm reluctant to answer that. We haven't got 33% out of 100 for maths in Year 10.
We need a maths expert to explain to us. Is there any? Can we draw anything from that? Because I got
a text from a mate of mine. Nick lives at Fulham Gardens. He said that apparently Grange Golf Club had 70 mil yesterday, and apparently their gym and locker room both flooded. If any regulars at that excellent golf course can confirm that, give us a bell.
There has been some developments in Ukraine overnight. We'll get you across those right now, starting with the President, Zelenskyy, talking about the prospect of an expedited entry into the European Union for Ukraine.
Мы We ask the European Union to admit Ukraine immediately under a new special procedure. We are grateful to our partners for fighting with us, but our goal is to be together with all Europeans, and the main thing, to be on equal terms. I'm convinced that this is just. I am certain that we have earned this. I am certain that all this is possible.
Not sure how that would work in practice. Usually takes years to be admitted to the European Union, and you go through various levels of status before you get to full member status. Of course, once you do get to that point, they have a collective defence arrangement as well, and I'm not sure how that would necessarily apply in the current circumstances, but it speaks to the desire for Ukraine and Zelenskyy to be integrated into Western Europe, and further alienates the Russian side. The two parties came together in Belarus to broker something of a peace. What happens now is they're going back to their respective corners, to use a boxing analogy. They go back to their countries now to talk about what they learned. Ukraine's demands were simple. They wanted a ceasefire and Russian withdrawal. The Kremlin not announcing what they want. That remains a mystery to everyone at this point in time. They've said they want a deal that's in the interests of both sides. I think that the scary part of this conflict is, and we got a good text on the Telstra Storm out to Barker text line earlier saying that there needs to be a way for Vladimir Putin and Russia to save face, and it's not immediately obvious, because you wonder what can they ask for at this point in time that allows them to do that.
Well, there was a report yesterday that Russia believed, according to defence sources, how people establish and maintain defence forces within the Russian military, I don't know, but it was a report out of one of the newspapers out of Western Europe saying that Putin believed that Ukraine would surrender and that this whole thing would happen within 48 hours, that the Russians would arrive and people would go, oh, hang on, here comes Russia, we'd better just do what we're told. And instead we've seen Molotov cocktail making parties on the street and Zelenskyy putting on an absolute masterclass of moral leadership. So if that was the plan, then the last thing Vlad, being the macho little twerp that he is, would want to look like is weak. So yeah, a face-saving exit. I don't know. The way the guy's poor, sad mind is wired, though, you'd think any form of exit, he'd regard that as a humiliation.
Need to come up with one, because whilst, people like hearing about, the Russian advance being thwarted and there being a failure of planning on their part, those are temporary measures. They need something a little bit more long-lasting than...
I reckon part of the thing that might actually turn him is less the military side of it, but the fact that people like the Chelsea owner Abramovich and all of these other rich bastards dotted around the world with their super yachts are now getting all of their assets frozen. Now, when Yeltsin, that old drunk, was running Russia, apparently Abramovich was one of the people who said Putin should be the next president. Like, these guys have got massive clout.
Yep.
And if they suddenly find that they can't get any of their rubles out of their bank account so they can keep making themselves Savruga caviar sandwiches for breakfast, they might have a quiet word with Vlad and say, hey, Sunshine, this isn't going exactly the way we all wanted it to. We need to find a dignified way of getting our ramshackle economy back on track.
Now, once the peace talks ended for the moment yesterday, when they went back to their respective countries to assess what they'd learned, the shelling began again in Kiev and right around Ukraine. 3AW Breakfast a short time ago spoke with Ines Ovsen, who's a member of Ukraine's parliament, who was sheltering as the shelling recommenced.
From time to time we do hear some explosions. We don't know the nature of that or specific places where they're hitting. But we are under attack as we speak right now, even though everyone is extremely tired. I think of anger, this extreme anger that this is happening to us, that there is just madman in Kremlin who decided that he can simply start bombing a sovereign state just because he doesn't like the very fact that this state exists.
That was Ines Ovsen a short time ago on 3AW Breakfast. So the other developments overnight, Shell has become the second energy giant to announce they're quitting Russian operations. All these things just have a cataclysmic effect on the Russian economy. It saw yesterday a doubling of the interest rate from 9.5 to 20%. The ruble hit a record low against the US dollar, and all trading on the Russian stock market was suspended. An extraordinary day in that country, and we'll keep you across developments, including crossing to Kiev in Ukraine just after 7:30 this morning. The flood situation in Queensland is now the flood situation in New South Wales. Some of the talk about remarkable stats have been this morning. Some of these stories are just amazing yesterday, and so much of the focus tends to be on things like the Wilson River reaching a flood peak of 14.4 metres. But there were things like 400 people unaccounted for. We're talking in far north New South Wales. This is not 400 people. I'm guessing is a significant proportion of the population of these sorts of areas that were just unaccounted for. People couldn't get in contact with them. People sheltering on rooftops. A woman who was 28 weeks pregnant with her husband was sheltering inside a roof cavity in a part of New South Wales. There are so many of these stories that came out yesterday. The Bureau today warning that floodwaters may peak at 14.2 in that Lismore area, 2 metres higher than the worst ever floods in 1954, to give you some sort of frame of reference. The Wilsons River surged past 14 metres by 10 a.m. yesterday. So that is still a very, very concerning situation over in New South Wales at the moment.
It's going to take years to recover. The last flood in 2017 had a massive impact. We were fortunate in organising a community response. I suspect we're going to have to do that again.
No love and no joy for the Australians last night at the Screen Actors Guild Awards. These are often, good indicator of what's going to happen Oscar-wise, but also they contain a lot of small screen awards, and we had some nominations on that front, including Adelaide's own Sarah Snook for Succession. Elizabeth, we had Nicole Kidman was nominated. Cody Smith-McPhee, another Adelaidean that was nominated, and Kate Blanchett. They all missed out, unfortunately, last night at the Screen Actors Guild. Jung Ho Yoon won for Squid Game, who was up against some of the biggest names in the industry. Elizabeth Moss, Jennifer Aniston, Reese Witherspoon, Sarah Snook was in that category as well. It was the first time actors in a non-English language series took home winners at the Screen Actors Guild Awards. It was quite significant what Squid Game achieved there. But I just wanted to play a little bit of Michael Keaton's speech. He appeared in a show called Dope Sick that was about the opioid crisis in the United States.
This is the one you've been urging me to watch.
I thought this show was just remarkable. What I didn't realise was Michael Keaton's personal connection to drug abuse in the US. Here's a little bit of his speech.
I would tell you, we have a fellow actor in Zelenskyy who deserves some credit tonight for fighting the fight. I've sent out my preemptive thanks to everyone involved in this, especially Marnie. But mostly, given the subject matter, this is for my nephew Michael and my sister Pam. I lost my nephew Michael to drugs, and it hurts. This is for my sister Pam. Thanks.
It changes the way you watch his performance in that show now, that I encourage people to do. He deserves the award. I think he's a fabulous actor, Michael Keaton. But to think he was portraying this doctor racked with guilt and his own drug issues, at the same time as, in his personal life he had such a connection to drug abuse is quite extraordinary.
And the drug we're talking about here is Oxycontin, isn't it?
Yeah, Oxycontin, the Purdue Pharma drug, and it's about on multiple. The show's fantastic because it talks about abuses at local levels in poor towns and among labouring communities, but also above in the upper echelons of the corporate world, and the problems and the political issues they had in trying to prosecute some of these people. It's magnificently well done, but Keaton is an absolute standout. And certainly deserves that award. Now, the good Turkish delight in loving community of Adelaide is coming to my support.
Seriously.
Sue says, I hated Turkish delight as a kid. We always left them in the Cadbury snack chocolate bar. Now I love them. Thank you, Sue. Sue says also, and this is important, a wheelie bin can only be an accurate measurement of rainfall if it is straight-sided. Okay. All right. So
most of them aren't. They're sort of,
a
bit, what's the word? Rhomboid or something. I don't know. They're bigger at the top than they are at the bottom.
We're really out of our depth on this one. Thank you for that. Jeanette also says, loves the Turkish delight. Thank you for that. Jen says, good on you. Pick the one chocolate that Cadbury doesn't make. It's not Cadbury. Well, it's in their Cadbury favourites, isn't it?
How'd you get in there?
What do they just? Is that one? Cadbury and Friends, maybe. That's what we're giving away. Anyway, keep the text coming in, 0448 01395. That's the Telstra Store About Barker text line. We'll check traffic, take a break and come back with more in just a moment.
Thanks, Will. At O'Halloran Hill, got a multi-car smash on the Southern Expressway. That's between Majors Road and Darlington on the down track. At Cavan, got a collision on Cavan Road at Balderstone Road. Stirling, Ute has lost its load on the freeway down track. Take care through there. Speeds have been reduced. And Semaphore South, urgent civil works. Military Road near Bower Road, restrictions are in place. Cameras, Brighton Road, Brighton. Everard Avenue at Keswick. Every business owner knows there's two kinds of busy: drowning in admin bad busy and to-do list ticking good busy. Get good busy with myob.com. Adelaide's most accurate traffic on 5AA.
Afternoons with Jade Robran.
The unfolding events that are happening in Russia and the Ukraine. Let's now go to Michael Shoebridge, Australian Strategic Policy Institute.
He is invading Ukraine, and all of the weasel words and mealy-mouthed language from him and Russian representatives can't hide that.
Jade Robran.
This is war with Russia attacking Ukraine.
Weekday afternoons from 1:30 on 1395, Adelaide's 5AA.
Hey, it's Callum here. Whether you're buying your first Mazda, trading your old vehicle, or getting your car serviced, take it from me. You cannot go wrong with the team at Edwardstown Mazda. edwardstownmazda.com.au.
It's gotta be
LMVD 207428.
It's value the Australian way at Coles with great fresh specials this week. Like juicy, loose white, seedless grapes, 100% Aussie and just $3.80 a kilo. This week at Coles. Offer ends Thursday.
Under 16 years of Labor, South Australia was going down a rough road. But the road is a lot smoother now. Under the Liberals, we have had the highest economic growth in the nation and our lowest unemployment rate in more than 40 years. A re-elected Marshall Liberal government will support businesses to keep employing and training young people. Why risk going back to Labor? Together, let's build a stronger future.
Authorised by S. Meldrum, Liberal Party of Australia, SA Division 104 Greenhill Road, Unley, SA 5061.
WOMADelaide returns to its spiritual home in Botanic Park for its 30th anniversary with a birthday party to remember.
Now, how's the lineup? It encapsulates the essence of 3 decades of WOMAD. There's Paul Kelly, Goanna and the Cat Empire in their farewell South Australian show.
And as always, expect big acts on the main stages plus surprising stellar entertainment on the small ones.
It's going to be back to its excellent best as well this year, folks, with all those fantastic food stalls, none of the restrictions that marred it for the last couple of years. And unsurprisingly, as we enjoy our newfound freedoms, tickets are selling fast to this limited capacity edition of Adelaide's most popular music festival. So make sure that you don't miss out.
WOMADelaide celebrating 30 years of world music and dance, March 11 to 14 at Botanic Park. Book your tickets and see the full lineup at womadelaide.com.au.
9 News is the one that's always been live and local. 9 News, made in Adelaide for Adelaide.
rock the boat, don't rock the boat, baby, rock the boat.
Gliderroll Garage Doors new Platinum and Native Series sectional doors are here. Gliderroll.com.au.
You're listening to 5AA Breakfast. David Penberthy and Will Goodings.
Your touch has thrilled me like the rush of the wind.
22 minutes after 7, after 7:30 this morning, Chris Reason in Kiev will join us. But right now it's time to head off to Canberra. Phil Currie from the Australian Financial Review is on the line. Morning to you, Phil.
Morning, Will.
Hey, Phil, when things like this happen, obviously Ukraine is just such a massive story at the moment that it sucked the life out of everything else. What's the sort of vibe working in the National Parliament? I mean, has it changed the whole focus? Has it made everything? Has it turned the volume down on domestic politics?
Well, you suddenly stop talking about stuff like leaked text messages and things like that, and you sort of realise, what's actually important in the world. And the sort of stuff we sort of, the Parliament amuses itself with when this sort of thing isn't going on. So, yeah, it does sharpen the mind. Obviously, we've got the flood in New South Wales, which is just diabolical. I mean, they were sort of competing yesterday as well. But so, we've got two pretty large tragedies unfolding at the moment, and obviously then the government's focus is on both, trying to deal with both. So it does, we sort of stop talking about all rats and mice stuff that often amuses us when there's nothing else going on. But also died in the shadow of an election. We're within 90 days now of the election, so clearly both parties are aware of how it could affect that, and make sure they're sort of, supporting everything the government's doing, and we're tough too.
Oh, sorry, I thought we lost you then, Phil. You still there, mate?
Yeah. Oh yeah, I can hear. Yep, sorry.
Don't worry, mate. I'm currently in the spare room at home, 24 hours away from the end of ISO. To what extent do you think the Libs are going to use the national security card as a vote-driving device? I mean, we've seen in the past 12 months. We spoke to you as it was happening. Scott Morrison linking up with Joe Biden and Boris Johnson to announce the new security deal through AUKUS. Do you think that Morrison is really going to try to do a John Howard in 2001 and just make this the national security election?
There'll be definitely shades of that. They've got to be a bit careful not to sort of over-egg it. But given how serious it is in Europe at the moment, all they really need to do is be seen to be responding to it, and in a competent manner. Like today, this morning, the National Security Committee of the Cabinet's going to meet, and they're going to sign off on what's called lethal aid. So the PM announced on Sunday, we're going to send guns. Basically, we're not going to send them. We're going to give money to the Americans and the British and the other NATO countries who are already supplying arms to the Ukraine. So buy some for us as well. So we'll get an announcement on that today. And a lot of countries are doing that. The Germans, the Dutch, the Canadians. Everyone's sort of pitching in as a gesture. So. Just by virtue of responding to it, they sort of, that sort of gives them an ascendancy, the value of being in government at the time. But the election's still a way away. I mean, it depends on what's going on in Europe by then. I mean, hopefully, Putin's been vanquished long before then. But if it's still going on in a couple of months' time, obviously things are going to be pretty serious by then. So, it's just, it just falls in their favour pretty much. And then, of course, from the Australian point of view, the great unknown is China, who's clearly, sort of supporting Russia in what they're doing and is sitting back, watching the strength of the reaction from the West, before it makes a decision whether it does anything in Taiwan or anything like that.
Great stuff as always, Phil. Phil Currie, the National Political Editor for the Financial Review. Thanks, mate.
26 minutes after 7. Book your service online at North Point Toyota. It is the North Point way. Last night, Rowie caught up with the 36ers coach, CJ Bruton, and discussed his journey and battle with cancer.
I had cancer, if I'm just being open and honest. I had a lump on my neck, and it was on my face, and my wife kept annoying me and telling me to go get it checked up. Before I signed, I have to have surgery. So I signed with the 36ers, but I haven't had the surgery. My date hasn't been booked.
Goodness me.
I get booked, and they tell me that I'm only going to be in anywhere for 5 days. I was 2 weeks in a hospital, and out of the 2 weeks, my neck didn't stop. The fluid kept leaking. They didn't know what to do. And then one of the doctors came in because I couldn't stop the leaking from my neck. I was going back in the hospital like every 5 hours. They said, they're going to send the actual doctor in who did the surgery. The other surgeon came in and he says, we should call your family members. And I said, well, that's not good. The fact that you even came in here tells me that it's not good.
Wow.
And then you just did it out, and he told me that I had cancer, and, basically a little bit of my story.
Yeah, you don't want the time to call your family members, chat from the doctor. That's that really is quite scary, and a bit of a warning to everyone about putting these sorts of things off. Because life happens, doesn't it? You sort of get around to...
Yeah, but,
you're always going to get around to things.
With this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Natural, it's just nothing. It's just a little lump, little mole, little whatever.
Yeah.
Plenty of blokes who they're paid a high price for ambivalence.
Yeah. Book your service online at North Point Toyota. It is the North Point way. 5AA News with Mel Usher is coming up. And in a moment, we're going to cross live to Kiev, where there was a brief period where the curfew ended and people were out on the street overnight because the peace talks, or the ceasefire talks were going on. They didn't break down or fail. It's just a natural part of it. You hear what each side's got to say, then you go back and assess and see what your next position is going to be when you come together again. Well, once that happened, the shelling began, and suddenly all these people that were out in the street had to go back in. Chris Reason for Channel 7's been there, seen all this and been amongst it. Make sure you stick around and hear him after this.
Want European floor tiles at 28% off? Why wouldn't you? At Beaumont's, Australia's biggest floor tile sale is on now. 28% off select European floor tiles and massive slabs from $99. Save on floor tiles or grab a slab. You'll be happy you chose Beaumont's.
What's on your bucket list? Writing a best-selling novel? Sailing around the Bahamas? Flying over the Antarctic? Before you plan a bucket list, plan your will with Donlan Lawyers. A will, power of attorney and advanced care directive speak for you when you can't, ensuring you and your loved ones are taken care of. For wills and estate planning, contact Donlan Lawyers. Visit donlanlawyers.com. Put it on your bucket list.
We lost Dad to prostate cancer.
Breast cancer nearly took Mum away.
My little brother is living with leukemia.
My pa caught his bowel cancer early.
Make your donation as personal as your story. You can target the cancer that's hurt you most with Cancer Council SA. Learn more or donate at cancersa.org.au.
The wait is nearly over. You can feel the excitement building across the city. The 2022 AFL season is back. For the best seats in the house this season, become an Adelaide Oval football member. With unrivaled access into the Western Stand, adult memberships start at $560. This is a red-hot opportunity for SA footy fans. To secure the best value memberships in footy today, visit adelaideoval.com.au/membership.
Get ready to meet your muse with the all-new Kia Sportage medium SUV. We unleashed our imagination to give you dominating presence and commanding luxury. The Kia Sportage has a strikingly sculpted exterior and soft touch leather interior. SUVs, meet your master. To find out more, visit kia.com.au or head to your nearest Kia dealer.
Kia, movement that inspires.
5AA Breakfast is streaming live right now. To watch, simply head online to 5AA Facebook or search 5AA on YouTube. This is Adelaide's 5AA.
A possible shower 27 today with the 7:30 news. I'm Mel Usher.
Physio Extra offers clinical Pilates and group exercise classes claimable on private health. 6 locations. physioextra.com.
High-level talks between Ukraine and Russia have been held on the Belarus border. Ukraine's initial aim was an immediate ceasefire and the withdrawal of Russian forces from the country. Representatives from both sides have agreed to engage in further consultation. Well, the Russian ruble has plunged to an all-time low overnight. ComSec's Tom Petrowski says the Russian administration is being isolated from every financial corner of the globe.
We have seen the Russian authorities effectively double their overnight interest rates to try and create some sort of cohesion in the Russian ruble, which was in free fall last night. The US Federal Reserve will cease all of its dealings with the Russian authorities, and including the central bank.
And the Ukraine exodus continues. Cars and buses are heading to Poland, Hungary, Slovakia, Romania and non-EU member Moldova. It's estimated more than 500,000 people have already fled the country following last week's invasion. 2/3 of Australian voters believe Russia's invasion of Ukraine poses a significant risk to our national security. The news poll shows the view is shared among Coalition and Labor voters, as well as most age groups. While the situation in Russia is concerning to most Australians, the survey also shows the threat posed by China is still the biggest worry. Health continues to dominate the state election campaign. Labor is again highlighting the ramping crisis. Shadow Health Minister Chris Picton says ambulances were ramped in the rain last night, with a queue outside the RA and around the corner.
Last night at the Royal Adelaide Hospital, there was 19 ambulances ramped, and then there was at least another 7 ramped at Lyle McEwen Hospital at the same time.
SA is sending a dozen SES staff to New South Wales today to help with the flood crisis. The team of swift water rescue technicians will support local crews as they respond to severe storms, dangerous rainfalls and life-threatening flash flooding. They're expected to be interstate until the weekend. And almost 15,000 insurance claims have already been made following the deluge in Queensland and New South Wales, but the Insurance Council of Australia expects that number will rise significantly as the days goes on. It's already extended its catastrophic declaration. The spotlight is on the Morrison government's failure to support working women in a new report released by the ACTU. Dale Beasley from SA Unions says it identifies 6 key areas where the Prime Minister has failed to support women.
Scott Morrison talks his big game about a commitment to making workplaces safer for women, but his legacy is actually proving to be one of failure to act on a string of vital reforms needed to close the gender pay gap, reduce harassment and violence in the workplace, and secure the retirement of millions of women.
Now turning to 5AA Sport, here's Tom Wren with everything AFL.
Thank you, Mel. Yeah, let's begin there. Plans will be finalised next week for each AFL club to have up to 20 top-up players to choose from. That's in the event of a COVID outbreak. Meantime, Adelaide Oval is set to return to full capacity for the start of the AFL season. Still on footy, and West Coast is facing an uphill battle before the season even gets underway. With a growing injury toll, West Coast football manager Gavin Bell says they have just 24 fit players on the list.
A lot of sort of collision injuries and so on. So it's a difficult one because there's no one to blame. There's nothing to blame except just some bad luck, unfortunately.
To cricket, and Usman Khawaja is treating this week's first test against Pakistan in Rawalpindi as just another match. The veteran batsman, who was born in Pakistan, is part of the first Australian cricket tour of the nation since 1998. He's trying not to let the emotion of the occasion distract him ahead of Friday's opening day.
Don't get me wrong, it's very special. Something I've always wanted to do. I grew up down the road. So, yeah, there is that bit of sentiment, definitely. But once the game starts, you don't really think about that stuff. I'm sure I'll look back on it and be like, that's pretty cool. I got to play first tour in Pakistan after so many years.
And in some golf, Austrian Sepp Straka has broken through for his first PGA Tour victory after holding on to beat Shane Lowry by a shot. That was at the Honda Classic in Florida. Meantime, Zach Johnson will captain the USA's Ryder Cup golf team to play against Europe in Rome next year. And that's the 5AA Sport.
Now checking 5AA traffic.
At O'Halloran Hill, got 2 separate crashes on the Southern Expressway, both between Majors Road and Darlington on the down track, causing extensive delays. Avoid it if you can. Another smash, this one's at Cavan Road at Balderstone Road, and Stirling. Ute has lost a slowed on the freeway down track. Take care through there, speeds have been reduced. Cameras on the driving, King George Avenue, Somerton Park, and Stonehouse Avenue at Camden Park. Suzuki measures success in smiles per hour, not in monies per bank. Explore their range at suzuki.com.au and start going places like the beach or your mate's place. Adelaide's most accurate traffic on 5AA.
Now the 5AA forecast.
Get amazing deals on Mitsubishi and used cars at Wayville Mitsubishi and Southern Mitsubishi, driven by Australian Motors.
A possible shower for you Tuesday with a forecast top of 27, partly cloudy tomorrow 28, then Thursday mostly sunny 31. Right now it's 18 degrees. More news as it happens on 5AA.
Gliderroll Garage Doors new Platinum and Native Series sectional doors are here. Gliderroll.com.au.
You're listening to 5AA Breakfast. David Penberthy and Will Goodings.
23 minutes to 8. SAPOL have confirmed those calls we received earlier in the program about incidents on the Southern Expressway. So just repeating, major delays on the expressway at O'Halloran Hill heading into the city due to 2 car accidents, both north of Majors Road. So that's the section we're talking about. There's 2 car accidents north of Majors Road at O'Halloran Hill affecting city-bound traffic. The suggestion from SAPOL is to take an alternate route and take care if you're going through the area, because it sounds as though, and we received callers earlier that said there was just people driving at an unsustainable speed through that area, and it was contributing to some fairly dangerous conditions. So SAPOL are there, they're attending to it, but it's going to be a little while, it sounds like, before that is entirely clear. Lots of texts coming through, David, on the Telstra Sturmount Barker text line. Someone said 75 mils at Tennyson yesterday. And they've just signed off as a Turkish delight lover. So they've crossed the streams in
them out.
Ghostbusters parlance there. Thank you for that.
I suppose I had a jar of roll mops once during the breakfast show, and I wonder if there's more sort of Turkish delight enthusiasts out there than roll mops lovers. So I can't really criticise people for having weird appetites, can I? If I'm prepared to eat
No,
a jar
my friend,
of
you
raw
of all
fish.
people cannot. You of all people, no chance. Anne says the Turkish delight has always and is delicious and has always been my favourite, even though it has shrunk. Has any chocolate bar not shrunk in the last couple of years? They've all shrunk, haven't they?
I think a lot of things have shrunk.
They seem to. Thank you for that. Kay, a big fan as well. We're talking all things chocolate this morning because it's Cadbury's 100th birthday, and we're going to be catching up with someone who's written a book about the history of the company after 8:30 this morning. You're welcome to jump into that delicious conversation. 8223 0000 or text us again on the Telstra Storm Out Barker text line. You might have, like a good friend at Tennyson there, a means by which you measured the extraordinary rainfall in the western suburbs yesterday, because the Weather Bureau, who we spoke to earlier, and we'll speak with Jessica Braithwaite from 9 News in a moment about it, there's no instruments there to record it. So we're sort of relying on down your street anecdotal local evidence to try and record it. Like the person who gave us a green bin reading a little bit earlier. That was on the high end of things, but we've had everything from 50 mils right through to 110 mils for people in that area, and it all came down in an hour. It was just extraordinary. 21 to 8. Let's head to Kiev. Chris Reason we spoke to at this time yesterday, who is in Ukraine, in Kiev, covering it all for Channel 7. Chris, good morning to you, mate. Thanks for talking to us again.
Always a pleasure, guys.
So we understand there was the curfew ended and people were allowed to go out for a brief period of time whilst talks were going on. That ended, and it sounds like hostilities resumed. Was that your experience?
Pretty much, yeah. Look, it was a brief respite for people who'd been locked in their homes in the capital, Kiev, for the last 2 days. The curfew was imposed over the weekend, and the government said you can come out this morning, Monday morning, and they did, and they went straight into queues that were hundreds and hundreds of people deep in supermarkets, in pharmacies, in garages, just looking to replenish the stocks and supplies. And after spending the day queuing, just about on dusk as night fell, the hostilities ripped open again, and people just ran for cover and ran into shelters, and some massive explosions in the capital, Kiev. It rocked the city centre. The Ukrainian ground forces firing back surface-to-air missiles, anti-aircraft guns. It was on. Quite spectacular stuff. But, yeah, on a day that was supposed to be themed about total on peace talks.
Chris, what are people doing for food? I would imagine the entire supply chain would have collapsed in Ukraine. You wouldn't be getting deliveries to butcher shops. You wouldn't be getting fruit and vegetables. None of the bakers would be baking, I'm imagining. Like, what are you doing for food at the moment?
Mate, yeah, you can't exactly call menu log, but mate, it is difficult. There's no doubt about that. It's most people are home. Most employees, workers, bakers, cooks, chefs. The whole supply chain it has been absolutely smashed, and so food is very difficult to come by, especially fresh stuff, vegetables, fruit, bread. I've been living off muesli bars pretty much for the last 3 days, but we went supermarket shopping today to try and replenish our stores, and went through that whole queuing system and came back with basically what was on the shelves, and that was tons of muesli bars, protein bars. We got a salami, that was a bit exciting, and a pineapple, that was even more exciting. But it's easy for us. We've got money, we've got mobility, we're okay. The locals, you've just got to feel for. For them, it is just extraordinarily difficult, and that supply chain issue is a massive hit to people's lives. It's really tough times.
Are you surrounded there now, Chris?
By
the city?
The Russians.
Is the city surrounded?
Yeah, that's what they keep telling us. The mayor of Kiev came out yesterday saying he was convinced the Russians now had the city encircled. Now, I just can't quite get my head around this, because we get in our car every day and we go out and we drive around, and we're pretty cautious. We look for what roads have got activity, and we talk to local militia groups, local soldiers, roadblocks to see where we can move to and what's safe. And the social media is just phenomenal to tap into and and see what areas, what districts are, having gunfire problems, et cetera, to avoid. But yeah, look, the bottom line is we're slipping in and out and around the city quite smoothly, and I hate saying that. Something will happen to me tomorrow, but it so far it's been okay. But it's there's certain times of the day when the fighting seems to get intense, pre-dawn particularly, and around dusk particularly, and everybody sits absolutely tight wherever they are and hopes for the best.
Is the big question people have got on their minds there at the moment, Chris, what will Putin do next? I mean, there's been speculation that he expected Ukraine would surrender, that this entire operation would last no longer than 48 hours. Yet last night I was watching CNN. I saw one of the most amazing first-hand reports. It was almost happening in real time. There was a journo who had found a stricken fleet of Russian tanks that had been taken out by the Ukrainians, and as he was walking past a tank, he averted the camera and said, "Sorry, we're not filming there. There's a dead Russian soldier," and there was smoke still coming out of the tank, like it had just happened. So when there's clearly so much unexpected resistance from Ukraine, and given how unhinged Putin is, are people worried that the guy's going to, really throw the switch to a full-blown assault?
Yeah, look, I mean, it's the $64 million question. Nobody knows the mind of the man and what's happened to him, and there's been a lot of talk about the deterioration in his intellect, his psyche over the last couple of years, and the unpredictability of Putin has always been the mark of him. But, just when you think that he wouldn't do this and he wouldn't do that, he does it every time. And as you know, 24 hours ago, we were talking about the next elevation of the stakes that he'd taken the world to by triggering the nuclear option and getting everybody combat ready in those divisions of his military services, just throws entire panic into the equation. And look, people genuinely don't know what he will do. He is unpredictable. And we've been waiting for him to throw more resources at this to try and move forward at far greater speed. You're right, nothing is going the way they'd anticipated it, and no capital city has yet fallen. We're day 5 now, and they still haven't really managed to take control of any city they have rolled into. Kiev is at a standstill. Kharkiv is probably, the most advanced the Russians have got so far. They're moving through the south and in from the east where they had the occupied regions, but really nowhere near the speed that had been predicted. And so the picture we're painting is that Putin will be sitting there in his lair, wherever that might be, sort of pacing up and down, getting more and more furious and angry that it's not working out the way he'd wanted it to and the way his generals had probably promised it would. What does he do next? And that's the question you're asking. We genuinely don't know.
There's been some disputed accounts over the last 24 hours about who controls the airspace over Kiev. Russia claimed to have garnered control, and then US and British authorities said, well, that's not their intelligence on the situation. Have you observed any difference from where you are?
Yeah, it's been extraordinary. And the great thing about the Ukrainian Air Forces is a lot of their MiGs are painted light powder blue. You can genuinely tell them from 10 kilometres away. So you see them flying through the air. They're not gone. They have not been taken down. And they are, one guy I was with yesterday, his cousin is a retired colonel who's now jumped back in the cockpit, and he was flying one of the planes we were filming yesterday. And they have done some extraordinary precision bombing attacks on Russian tank columns. They're going very well. And added to that, though, is the Turkish attack drone that Turkey, member of the EU, has handed over to let the Ukrainians use, and they have been devastatingly effective. These things are terrifying, and they have been taking out individual tanks in columns by the fantastic satellite vision that has been showing what's been happening as black and white camera footage they've released. Their accuracy is blindingly good. They are absolutely lethal on whatever kind of machinery is below them. And the Russians are nervous, and there's no tank armour that will protect them from those particular systems. And the Ukrainians cannot be written off from the sky as well as they can't be written off from the ground.
Mm. Great report as always, Chris, mate. We again can't thank you enough. Appreciate your time.
Always a pleasure, guys. Anytime. Cheers.
Chris Reason for Channel 7 in Kiev with that extraordinary account again of what life's like there. I saw that footage of the drone attack yesterday on a Russian missile system, and it honestly looks like something out of Terminator 2. It's something out of the future. Devastating, controlled remotely. It's almost the kind of thing that was once a video game. Now it's a deadly weapons system. The interesting development in the last 12 hours too on some of those equipments and what's the new euphemism we use? Lethal aid, has been that Russia have said anyone who supplies the Ukrainians with a weapon system that's used against Russia will pay. Well, that feels pretty empty and hollow.
That's the entirety of Western Europe.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's the war with NATO that Putin didn't want. I've just seen some pictures come through too now in the last few hours of a situation back in Moscow, the metro system, where people are struggling to get on trains and trams and use public transport because they can't use Apple Pay and Google Pay. It doesn't work there anymore. Moscow's like Adelaide and Australia. Russia's much like the rest of the world, where cash is not necessarily as used as much as it has been in the past. So people are having to revert back to cash. It's unworkable just to say a lot of these digital payments don't work anymore. There's lineups. It's gone crazy. These sanctions are biting and they're having an effect, and they will. I just want to register a degree of caution. We can't have Russia becoming a failed state as a result of all this. Now, they're way off that now. But the total collapse of a country that has the biggest nuclear arsenal on planet Earth can't be the end game here for the West either. There needs to be a strong message sent so Putin realises it's going to hurt him at home and hurt people at home, this kind of action. But at the same time, I wonder, we haven't had a period of time where, we are so digitised that these giant companies can just say, we're turning off the tap. We've never had the capacity to do that before. What a sanction is in 2022 in the digital element of this compared to what it was in 1982 or 1972. It's a totally different ballgame. I wonder how long it's going to take them to wind back the damage here and get back to some degree of normality.
Behaviour.
He totally does, but
that's the thing. I mean, I totally support it at the moment. Just kick the living daylights out of them. And then
what you don't want is unintended consequences, though. If the country falls apart,
he becomes a martyr, and then the entire country becomes enraged.
Or it becomes the country falls apart. There's no stable government. There's 12 different regions. There's nuclear weapons that are currently in control of God knows who. We just got to be careful, because it feels like now the element, the speed with which this has all happened, and the economic sanctions are being borne by people on the ground there. I don't know if we've seen this before. We've just got to be careful. It's my only concern. 9 minutes to 8. Let's check traffic, and we do so just to get an eye on some of those situations, including the expressway this morning, where there's been a couple of crashes. We'll come back with weather in just a moment.
Thanks, Will. At O'Halloran Hill, got two separate car crashes on the Southern Expressway, both between Majors Road and Darlington on the down track, causing extensive delays back to Main South Road. Avoid if you can. Prospect smash on Main North Road near Cemetery Avenue. That's just heading into the city. And Semaphore South, urgent civil works there today. Military Road near Bower Road, restrictions in place. Got cameras Brighton Road, Brighton, and Everard Avenue at Keswick. Amard Furniture's mid-season sale is on now. Today only, save $250 when you spend $19.99. Shop in store or online with Amard today. Stores open till late. Adelaide's most accurate traffic on 5AA.
Under 16 years of Labor, South Australia was going down a rough road. Higher taxes driving up your cost of living. Our young people leaving to find jobs interstate. A re-elected Marshall Liberal government will build a stronger future by supporting businesses to keep training and employing young people. Why risk going back to Labor? Together, let's build a stronger future.
Authorised by S. Meldrum, Liberal Party of Australia, SA Division 104 Greenhill Road, Unley, SA 5061.
Don't just get a forklift, get a Toyota forklift. When you need a forklift, don't just get a forklift, get a Toyota forklift. Get the world's #1 forklift brand. Get legendary Toyota reliability. Get world-leading safety, and get it from toyotamaterialhandling.com.au. Get the Toyota Forklift Advantage for sales, service and hire. Get a Toyota forklift.
There are nights when you enjoy listening to quiet, empty streets. Then there are nights when all you want to hear is a siren in the distance.
SA ambulance, what's your emergency?
Oh, but please help! My daughter's not breathing. I need an ambulance.
I'm organising.
The Marshall government cut $11 million of ambulance service funding in its first 2 years, leaving our ambulance service in crisis. South Australians are dying for more ambos.
Authorised L. Watkins Ambulance Employees Association of SA, Adelaide.
Are you 65 or over and in general good health? Are you interested in helping your community? At FIVEaa, we're inviting people to participate in important clinical research. Learn more and register your interest today. Visit evrima.com.au/trials. That's evrima.com.au/trials.
Hi, Susanna Toop here from Toop and Toop. Landlords, we've got some exciting news. Toop and Toop have just launched a brand new solution that gives you exclusive access to pre-screened tenants up to 2 months in advance. You can secure quality tenants and save yourself hundreds of dollars in advertising costs. This new innovation is a total game changer for landlords. At Toop and Toop, you can find your next tenant sooner. To tap into this incredible network, simply head to toop.com.au or give us a call today.
5AA Breakfast is streaming live right now. To watch, simply head online to 5AA Facebook or search 5AA on YouTube.
Gliderall Garage Doors, adding strength, safety and style to South Australian homes for over 40 years. Gliderall.com.au.
You're listening to 5AA Breakfast. David Penberthy and Will Goodings.
5 to 8. We're watching those crashes we had earlier on the expressway, a couple of them. Lots of people have texted us saying tailgating's just rife, out of control on the expressway at the moment. Now, we don't know if that was a factor in these particular incidents, but a lot of people have texted in without any prompting from us saying, you know what, no surprise there are going to be incidents there because it's out of control at the moment. We'll get to some of those shortly on the Telstra Storm Mount Barker text line. But on the other side of the city, out north at Medindi, Naomi says, letting you know there's a car accident, left lane, Main North Road, Medindi, heading towards Park Terrace. Thank you for that, Naomi. We'll get some more information on that for you over the course of the next few minutes. Jessica Braithwaite has the weather info for us, thanks to 9 News. Morning to you, Jessica.
Yeah, morning. Bit of a crazy, I mean, you know what, I was going to say it's been some crazy weather in South Australia, and I understand that probably sounds insensitive because we've all seen what's happening on the east coast, but we do have, you know, some mopping up going on in the western suburbs with our really quite bizarre rain event that happened here yesterday. We watched it spike up on the radar, and I was just astounded when we saw the black centre. I was sitting at the news desk with Brenton Raglas, and we thought, what is going on there? Let's get a crew down to the western suburbs. And yeah, flooding from Seaton, Fulham Gardens, Grange, Tennyson. I was looking at some of the private rain gauges out there because the BOM doesn't really have many rain gauges in that area. But, you know, we're talking about like 40 to 80 millimetres coming down in just like 20 minutes. It was just really freakish. So, you know, a crazy weather event here and possibly some more storms around today. It's one of those systems where you never quite know where they're going to bubble up or even if they're going to bubble up because it's unpredictable. But, you know, if we're going to see storms again today, it's more likely to be sort of through the northern suburbs and perhaps through the hills. But that was the case yesterday too, and it ended up being the western suburbs that copped it. So we're definitely watching that instability there coming through. It looks like it'll start to clear up from tomorrow. So we'll see, you know, perhaps things starting to feel a bit clearer and also a bit more, a bit less humid too. So we'll see temperatures remaining pretty stable and dry conditions as we move through to the rest of the week. So tomorrow we're just looking at a partly cloudy 28 degrees. Thursday, mostly sunny, 31, and then we dip back down into the mid-20s over the weekend with dry conditions, so partly cloudy and 26 for Friday, and partly cloudy and 25 for Friday. So we just kind of got to get through today. It's a bit of an iffy one. It could be something, it could be nothing, but I can promise you we'll be watching it closely.
Yeah, absolutely. So will we in the West. Thank you, Jessica. Jessica Braithwaite for 9 News. It's time for Wallace Fogg, thanks to Aussie Fast Transport Solutions. They're looking for subcontract drivers right now. Call 13 13 64. That's 13 13 64.
Now, the latest news with Wallace Fogg. Good morning, early risers. This is Wallace Fogg with another 5AA news update. South Australian election campaigning is in full swing, and the politicians are wasting no time letting us know that they have very little understanding of what's important, what the people think is important, and how to solve important problems. Independent Upper House MP Frank Pangallo has called for a royal commission into how South Australia handled the pandemic and how we should prepare for the next one. He said we need to learn lessons we haven't learnt yet by trying to predict things that haven't happened yet and respond to them in ways that haven't yet been developed. He said it'll cost millions of dollars, and whichever party's in government has to remember it's not their money. Mr. Pangallo is not up for election this time around. His 8-year term expires in 2026. And doesn't that give us a nice, warm, fuzzy feeling? Meanwhile, opposition leader Peter Malinauskas has made an election promise to spend $120 million of our money for a new ambulance headquarters to combat hospital ramping, with an extra 15 emergency dispatchers so that even more ambulances can be sent out to park behind the ambulances that are already on the ramp, confirming once and for all that he has no idea what's causing it or indeed how to fix it. And finally, Premier Stephen Marshall has promised to build a $7.5 million viewing platform on the banks of the Torrens so locals and tourists alike could walk past and look at a giraffe, a lion and a pygmy hippopotamus. He said this will be an African oasis, making it a healthy, walkable and safe boulevard, provided the lion doesn't escape. And he went on to say, if we had a white elephant, this would certainly be the place to display it. And that's the election news for this Monday. I'm Wallace Fogg. More 5AA news coming up at 8 o'clock, or as close as we can get.
Election at 8's coming up just after 8 o'clock. Stick around for that. Also, we're going to chat with the SES after 8:30. And Cadbury, happy 100th birthday.
Wavell Mitsubishi and Southern Mitsubishi have amazing deals on new, demo and used vehicles, with over 250 cars arriving between now and the end of Feb. The only problem is we need to make room for the rebuild of the Wavell Mitsubishi showroom, so every car must go. All new Mitsubishi cars come with 10 years warranty and 10 years capped price servicing. Get in touch with the team at Wavell Mitsubishi and Southern Mitsubishi, located in Morfett Vale, driven by Australian Motors, LVD 80.
9 News is the one that's always been live and local. 9 News, made in Adelaide for Adelaide.
Online, on DAB Digital Radio, and on 1395 AM. Talking Adelaide. This is Adelaide's 5AA.
A possible shower 27 today with the 8 o'clock news. I'm Mel Usher.
Physio Extra Marion have a hydrotherapy pool now on site. Contact Physio Extra Marion or head to physioextra.com.
Peace talks happened between Russia and Ukraine on the Belarus border overnight, but further discussions have been flagged, so the invasion continues. Meantime, President Volodymyr Zelenskyy has signed an application to join the European Union. The US has moved on further financial sanctions against Russia. The ruble has plunged. It's now worth less than 1 US cent, while more than 500,000 Ukrainians have fled to neighbouring countries. Channel 7's Chris Reason is in Kiev. He's told David and Will, Putin is an unknown quantity, so you don't know what's next.
Nobody knows the mind of the man and what's happened to him, and there's been a lot of talk about the deterioration in his intellect, his psyche over the last couple of years, and the unpredictability of Putin has always been the mark of him. But, you know, just when you think that he wouldn't do this and he wouldn't do that, he does it every time.
Some of Australia's biggest liquor retailers are pulling Russian-made products off their shelves. Dan Murphy's, BWS and ALH Hotels are among those to ban vodka in solidarity with Ukraine. Top Shelf International Executive Chairman Adam Karafili says there's plenty of other options for vodka lovers.
A lot of the popular brands are, from France, Grey Goose, Belvedere is from Poland, etc. But, Australia makes just as good vodka as anywhere in the world.
South Australia is set to become a global leader in the plant-based food sector, creating more than 8,000 local full-time jobs in the process. Thomas Foods International has teamed up with Australian Plant Proteins and Australian Milling Group to build 3 new manufacturing facilities here. Trade and Investment Minister Stephen Patterson says the $378 million investment is partly funded by the federal and state governments.
The global plant protein market is expected to grow rapidly, up to $15 billion by 2023. And so by being an early mover here in South Australia, we can capture these economic benefits.
In New South Wales, aerial searches have resumed in the flood-hit states north to try to find people who've spent a second night stranded on the roof or inside their home. Evacuation orders are in place for more than 24 areas, but in South Ballina, residents are being told to get to higher ground because it's too late to leave. A new report by the ACTU has identified 6 key areas in which the Morrison government has failed to support women. It shows women earn on average $483 less a week than men and retire with about half the amount of superannuation. Dale Beasley from SA Unions says it shouldn't still be like this in 2022.
Working women deserve a government that's going to take the action that's necessary to make their lives better and improve equity in the workplace, and we can't afford to rely on Scott Morrison for another 3 years.
The real-life Ramsay Street in Melbourne could be heritage protected. With neighbours set to wind up this year, local councillors have commissioned a report into protecting the 8 properties that make up the fictional street on screen. The cul-de-sac is located in Vermont South. Now turning to 5AA Sport, it's over to Tom Wren.
Thank you, Mel. Some relief for Port Adelaide with Connor Rosie and Scott Lycett expected to be okay to play in this Saturday's pre-season showdown against Adelaide. The pair both rolled their ankles in the loss against Gold Coast, but their injuries aren't serious, meaning they should be okay to play. Sam Powell-Pepper won't be there though as he continues to recover from a hamstring injury, while the Crows will be without gun recruit Jordan Dawson, who's nursing a sore calf. Well, the world governing body for soccer, FIFA, has booted Russia out of all soccer events, including the World Cup. That's due to the invasion of Ukraine. The BBC's Dan Rowan is at Wembley.
Tonight, Russia finds itself effectively an international sporting pariah. FIFA had lots of criticism for allowing Russia to continue playing football, albeit with a different name, no flag or anthem, and on neutral venues. That meant that it could be possible for Russia to appear here at Wembley during the Women's Euros this summer and at the Men's World Cup later this year as well, despite national associations like the FA saying that they didn't want anything to do with Russia. The FIFA acted along with UEFA, who also have ended their lucrative sponsorship arrangement with the Russian state-controlled energy giant Gazprom as well.
To basketball, one game in the NBL overnight with the Perth Wildcats bouncing back to form with an 11-point win against the Tassie Jack Jumpers. Meantime, there's a stack of action again in the NBA today. Aussie Josh Giddey set to play for his Oklahoma. They take on the Sacramento Kings. And in some tennis, Russia's Daniil Medvedev is now officially the world number 1, taking the mantle from Novak Djokovic. It's the first time since 2004 the world number 1 title on the men's side hasn't belonged to any one of Djokovic, Federer, Nadal or Murray. And that's the 5AA Sport.
Now checking 5AA traffic.
At O'Halloran Hill, got 2 separate car crashes on the Southern Expressway, both between Majors Road and Darlington on the down track, causing extensive delays back to Main South Road. Avoid if you can. Prospect got a smash on Main North Road near Cemetery Avenue. That's as you're heading into the city. And Semaphore South Urgent Sewer Works, Military Road near Bower Road. Restrictions in place. Cameras, Unley Road, Malvern and Stonehouse Avenue at Camden Park. 5 crispy chicken strips for $5 out of Porto. 5 100% crispy chicken strips with a dipping sauce for just $5. Limited time only. Order in store or take away now. Adelaide's most accurate traffic on 5AA.
Now the 5AA forecast.
Get amazing deals on Mitsubishi and used cars at Wayville Mitsubishi and Southern Mitsubishi, driven by Australian Motors.
27, a possible shower today, partly cloudy tomorrow, 28 and 31 on Thursday. Right now it's 19 degrees. More news as it happens on 5AA.
With over 300 destinations, G'day Parks is Australia's largest network of holiday parks. That means it's also Australia's largest network of... Australia's largest network of...
Dinner's ready!
Australia's largest network of... And Australia's largest network of... Download the app or book online at g'dayparks.com.au. It's easy. The hard part is leaving when the holidays are over. G'day Parks. Here's good.
Australia's making positive energy and there's more on the way. It's all part of our plan to reach net zero by 2050. We're rolling out rooftop solar at record levels, expanding snowy hydro, so it's the biggest battery in the Southern Hemisphere, and investing billions in projects like hydrogen hubs and seaweed for feed, which means more jobs and even less emissions, helping us reach net zero by 2050. Find out more at positiveenergy.gov.au. Authorised by the Australian Government, Canberra.
Gliderol Garage Doors, adding strength, safety and style to South Australian homes for over 40 years. Gliderol.com.au.
You're listening to 5AA Breakfast. David Penberthy and Will Goodings.
8 minutes after 8, Bill texted us a short time ago on the Telstra Stormont Barker text line saying, first day of autumn today. Bill, I'm guessing, was winding up John Blake because he sent it during Wallace Fog about 9 minutes ago. Seemed to me the timing was a little bit too pointed. What's your assessment?
You can almost hear the grinding of Blakey's teeth from afar, can't you? He'll be at home kicking his transistor radio across the room.
I think so. It felt like anything but summer yesterday. We're going to chat with the SES about the clean-up operation in the states, in the city's western suburbs. It was really localised, some incredible rainfall. Hearing from listeners this morning, some varying accounts of how much rain, 50 mils through to 110, depending if you trust the Woodville West rain gauge or I think it was the Grange Green Wheelie Bin counting method. We haven't quite got the science on what's more reliable to this point in time, but if you want to jump into that discussion, you're more than welcome to. We'll get to that. I've also heard the very exciting news. Lucy's got a podium for us coming up in about 15 minutes' time as well. The other thing we're going to do, of course, is chat with Cadbury on the occasion of their 100th birthday. We've got 5 boxes of Cadbury's favourites to give away, and we're going to be doing that just to people who've contributed to the show. So many texts. If you want to call in and have a chat too, you'll be in the running, or if you tweet us, jump on the live stream or...
Please tell me we're going to play the Julia Sumner Miller ad. Remember that? A glass of water.
Do we have it?
Put the egg.
We
put
have
the
it.
Egg into the bottle.
I'm getting lots of
Salto with Cadbury.
There are nods out in the production booth. We've got a lot of the old terrific ads that we're going to play for you after 8:30.
Excellent.
Let's talk election.
SA decides. Election at 8.
So what did you make of what transpired yesterday, David? Because there's so much of the conversation that came out of it seemed to be about who didn't speak as opposed to what was said.
Absolutely. Well, the Libs decided to bring out the big guns. We've been saying for some time now that they need to try to get the discussion back onto economic management. To that end, the Liberals rolled out their oldest hand, Rob Lucas, a 41-year political veteran who, on the occasion of his retirement on election day, March 19, is when Rob is bowing out of politics. In a tactical sense, the South Australian Liberal Party will lose 50% of their IQ. He is a junkyard brawler, and he was doing what he does best yesterday with this attack on Labor over its costings.
The only way you can afford that is you actually have to get the people of South Australia and the businesses to pay more.
Now, what Rob did there, he picked up quite cleverly on a promise that Peter Malinauskas made in response to a question you asked him only a few weeks ago, Will, when we had Mally on the show, about will you honour the budget surpluses that the Liberals have forecast, that Treasurer Lucas forecast in his budget brought down last year, to which Mr Malinauskas replied yes. Lucas is making a very old-fashioned and I think accurate Liberal point, which goes to their strengths, which is economic management, of just to raise the question, well, if you're going to promise all of these other things, how are you going to maintain a surplus? So it was a stock standard, but I think sensible attack by Rob Lucas. Labor, on the other hand, and we just heard it before in the news, this is now day 9 where every single day Labor is getting a great run by going ramping. Sunday, the big announcement was the city headquarters for the Ambos. Yesterday, 4 new ambulance stations in the city, another 4 in regional towns, and Mally won't stop talking about it.
We don't think South Australians need a basketball stadium in 5 years' time. What they need is a credible plan to fix the ramping crisis now.
I think the biggest talking point out of yesterday was that President Zelenskyy made more public appearances than Premier Stephen Marshall did. Now, I just want to pick up on something. This is the biggest TV news bulletin in the States. 7 News Adelaide last night. I'll just read you the tweet that they put out for their news bulletin. Stephen Marshall was nowhere to be seen today, instead rolling out his retiring treasurer to tear apart Labor's costings. Labor is continuing to focus on health, promising a range of new and upgraded ambulance stations. Now, I would say, by way of massive understatement, that if you're a government that's got any interest in winning a second term, that is probably not the ideal headline on day one of the second week of what is a very intense and brief 4-week election campaign.
We see it sometimes where during a campaign people will want to protect the leader from having to make negative statements, to sell the positive message and get other people to do the junkyard dog work, as you described it before rather nicely. But there doesn't seem to be a positive component to the sales pitch yesterday. Like, it was missing one significant element.
The one thing Stephen Marshall did do, I did a piece about it in the Oz this morning, was they released some research about the $300 million economic benefit that the entertainment centre is going to create. But if Stephen Marshall is convinced that he does have a good story to tell, I mean, most livable city in Australia, second most livable in the world, reduced taxes, stabilised energy supply, all of those things, get out and do it. The fact that he wasn't out and about, I don't know what is going on there. Who knows? Maybe he's hiding under his desk reading Saturday's news poll.
Some text coming in on the Telstra Storm Out Barker text line. Lots happening traffic-wise this morning. Ron's let us know traffic's bumper to bumper on South Road from Panalatinga Road back to Sheriff's Road. So we had issues both south and north of the city. Crash at Medindi, incidents on the expressway. Lots of people still texting in saying that the tailgating is the biggest issue on the expressway, and they would like to see that policed a little bit more rigorously. Thanks for those texts.
Every time I've used the Southern Expressway, and also last year, we had a weekend away with some mates up in the Barossa, using the Northern Expressway on a Friday night, it was like Grand Theft Auto. There's people right up your day. It's crazy. It's really unnerving.
Yeah. They seem to be, for some people, the posted speed limits seem to be guidelines more than, they seem to be, concepts rather than something you're meant to actually adhere to.
Oh, there's a certain type of driver out there who thinks that even if you're doing 83 in an 80 zone in the right-hand lane, that you are actually blocking others from getting through at the speed of their choosing.
It does seem extraordinary. Keep the text coming in on that front, 0448 08 1395. That's the Telstra Storm Out Barker text line. Let's get the latest across the Ukraine situation from the US perspective. Alison Petrovsky is at the White House for the Today Show reporting on the latest regarding the US's economic sanctions.
The US pressing go this morning on the toughest sanction yet, cutting off the Russian central bank. That stops any US dollar transactions. It blocks any direct investments with the US. And more importantly, Ali, it cuts Russia off from a $630 billion rainy day fund that had been propping up the national currency there, the ruble.
Just carnage on the Russian economy at the moment. They've suspended trading on the stock exchange. You look at some of the way things were trending the other day before interest rates doubled. The companies were losing half their value. War has a cost, but the capacity for sanctions to cripple the Russian economy are unlike anything we've seen. And unfortunately, it appears Putin's going to push on bloody-minded with this whole endeavour, whilst the people that are going to suffer are going to be Russian people who are going about their business. Here in Adelaide, of course, big story yesterday with the incredible rate. There will be people like the gentleman who texted us, Bill from Brighton, earlier, going, "What in the hell are you people on the talking about in the western suburbs?" Mind you, he's in Brighton, so he's sort of southwest. talking about this rain, 40 to 80 mils, the Bureau estimated it was at. We've received anywhere between 50 and 110 accounts from people measuring their own way at home. We asked Tom Bowick about it yesterday. What in the hell happened?
Don't actually have any rain gauges directly over that sort of Seaton Grange, Findon sort of area there, but I think there probably was some falls around the 40 millimetre mark, wouldn't be surprised. Some of the ones where we did have gauges not in that area, we got some total 17.2 at Banksia Park there near Tichu Gully. There was 21 millimetres at Crafers West, 19 millimetres at South Para Reservoir, so quite sporadic sort of falls.
It was remarkable. We got some good pictures earlier too from people who showed, their cars look like they literally look like they'd just driven them into and parked them in the middle of floodwaters. Our producer Sam lives down sort of the Hendon Royal Park part of Adelaide and was talking about being on Tapley's Hill Road, and people had to basically park on the median strip and just pull over for periods because the rain came so fast and filled up the drains so quickly that suddenly it was unsafe to drive through what are pretty main roads. It was rather extraordinary. And again, encourage anyone to check out Matt Pandelis' tweet of the rain radar, which just looks like a glitch. There wasn't rain anywhere but for about 4 pixels across the western part of Adelaide that were the darkest colour that it gets to in terms of rain intensity.
The SES map of the cleanup as well.
Yes.
Is amazing. It's just this perfect little red circle.
We're going to speak to the SES.
Directly above your house, Will.
Yeah, that's right, the streets around it. I like that. We now live on a lake, which is nice. Hopefully that does something for the property value. That'd be good. We're going to speak with the SES after 8:30 today. Fuel Watch, thanks to the excellent MyRAA app, people. Find the cheapest fuel in an instant. Download the free MyRAA app from your app store today. Not much movement today. It's still expensive. Ex-Convenience, Main North Road, Jeps Cross, $1.83.7. BP on the Run, Marion Road, $1.81.9. Coles Express, OG Road, Clemsick, $1.83.9. Diesel on average is in the low $1.80s. Cheapest we found it was the Ex-Convenience, Main North Road, Jeps Cross, $1.68.9. Andrew on the Telstra Stormont Barker text line says, how will more ambulances reduce ramping? The problem seems to be the way the new RAA works, and we know who built that. Thank you, Andrew. A lot of people have pointed out that. So where's the glitch in the system? Is it getting people to the hospital or getting them into and through the hospital?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a very good point. I mean, you could have all these extra ambulances, but they would just arrive at the same hospital and be told there's no beds.
Andrew says people not doing the speed limit and keeping left unless overtaking is the main cause of tailgating. I'm not sure on the expressway, Andrew. I think there's a fair few people that think the speed limit's just is a minimum.
I would drive to Aldinga easily on average once a week. I drive there and back once a week, and I reckon on every trip there are at least 3 people between Darlington and Old Noongar who are doing 110, 115, in some cases more. Every trip.
Yep.
And there's also people who overtake from the far left lane who crack it the moment you get up the hill from Darlington, where it goes 80 to 100. In that 80 to 100 bit, there's a whole category of person, i.e. idiot bloke, who thinks, well, it's 100, so I'm going for it. And if everyone else in lanes 2 and 3 is doing 80, they'll overtake on the left lane.
Sorry to hear this from Janet in Woodcroft. Janet says, my daughter's first day at uni today. She left home at Woodcroft at 7 a.m. for an 8 a.m. lecture to leave plenty of time. She's been stuck on the expressway for over an hour. It looks like she's going to miss her first lecture. Well, that's not ideal, Janet. But also, it sounds it sounds a little bit like my start to uni. That continued on like that, but
Janet,
traffic was never a factor.
I missed a lot of lectures.
Yeah.
I missed an entire year's worth of lectures.
Yeah, I was never as creative enough to say it was
1991, I can't even remember what happened.
You know what, Janet? We're going to give you a box of Cadbury Favourites chocolates. Their 100th birthday. You can enjoy those as we... I'm sure your daughter sounds like she'll be an exemplary student and a really productive member of society, unlike the degenerates who host this radio program. 22 minutes after 8, let's check traffic. We've got a Podium with Lucy coming up next.
O'Halloran Hill, got very heavy delays from 2 earlier crashes on the Southern Expressway. That's between Majors Road and Darlington on the down track. Very heavy on Main South Road and around Lonsdale too. At Thorngate, got a 2-car crash, Main North Road near Nottage Terrace, and Cavan, another collision. It's on Cavan Road at Balderstone Road. Cameras today, Birdwood Terrace North Plimpton and Brighton Road at Brighton. Get 12 months free roadside assistance when you get your car serviced at Australia's #1 car service service company, UltraTune. Search UltraTune to find a service centre near you. Adelaide's most accurate traffic on 5AA.
Roey's Sports Show.
The Crows season launch. Tommy Lynch got awarded life membership. He joins us now. T-shirt Tommy, a great honour. Congratulations and welcome.
Yeah, good afternoon, fellas.
You go to another club in North Melbourne, different culture, different setting. Is there anything that really stood out in the differences between the two?
Well, they've got a sauna here, which I'm not sure they had at the Adelaide Football Club.
4 p.m. weekdays.
Haven't been able to work my way into that. It might be a bit awkward if I'm sitting there in my Speedos, Roey.
Roey's Sports Show on 5AA.
This is the sound of Julian's bargain price vacuum with deep express suction. This is the sound of Julian trying to fix his bargain price vacuum, which infuriates him deeply. Yes, this is the sound of bargain regret. When it comes to the important stuff, like insurance, don't risk it. Go to Amy instead, who offers great value cover you won't regret. Amy does. Before buying insurance issued by AAI Limited Trading as Amy, read the PDS at amy.com.au. TMD also available.
It's a frightening thought. But what if you lost capacity to manage your financial affairs? If you're not at the helm, who makes medical or health decisions? Who gets your superannuation? Who controls the family trust? From the simplest to the most complex wills and estate plans, Donlan Lawyers will answer your questions and help carry out your wishes to the letter. Wills and estate planning. Visit donlanlawyers.com. That's donlanlawyers.com.
No one likes to wait, especially if you're waiting for something really amazing, like a new Mazda. Lucky, you won't have to wait too long at Mawson Lakes Mazda. Right now, you'll find new stock and demos right across the range, which means there's no compromise. You'll get everything you want and love in your new Mazda. Get behind the wheel of your dream Mazda sooner. Mawson Lakes Mazda, just a short drive from the city.
We hear the Premier saying that our small business community is the state's economic engine room. But where is his government's focus? You guessed it, on spin and the big corporates. Bring back the real lens on SA's small business community. After all, if it wasn't for small business, we wouldn't have big business. Cut the spin. Vote for Colin Shearing and Carol Haslam, your independent candidates in the Legislative Council, defending local business. Written and spoken by C. Shearing, authorised by M. Rikers, 155 Fullerton Road, Rose Park, South Australia.
About me, she's like dying.
Explore Australia's biggest arts festival at Adelaide Fringe from the 18th of February to the 20th of March. With over 1,000 shows, act now and get your tickets. Supported by principal partner Bank SA. Search Adelaide Fringe today.
9 News is the one that's always been live and local. 9 News, made in Adelaide for Adelaide.
Goodbye, my friend, it's hard to die.
Gliderol Garage Doors' new Platinum and Native Series sectional doors are here. Gliderol.com.au.
You're listening to 5AA Breakfast. David Penberthy and Will Goodings.
26 minutes after 8, in addition to the 5 boxes of favourites chocolates we're giving away, to anyone who's interacting with the programs in the running for this, you didn't even know you're in the running, but you are. So too has been the case all this week with these excellent Fringe tickets we've had to give away. 360 All-Stars in the Flamingo at Gluttony. Gluttony back in Rainfall Park for 2022. Get your tickets for the biggest shows this Fringe at gluttony.net.au or search Adelaide Fringe today. We want to make it standard that if you jump onto the show in a text or a tweet or you call in and have your say, whatever you do, you're always in the running to win something. So that is the case right now. So whether you know it or not, we're going to announce 6 winners, 5 boxes of chocolates and those tickets before 9 o'clock. Now, Lucy's wandered in, which can only mean one thing. All right. It is podium time, Luce. What have you got for us?
Podium today inspired by Cadbury. And I want people to call in with this one. So, Will, if you could just play the Cadbury Orange, I think I've got there for you.
Wouldn't it be nice if the world was Cadbury? Driving in the car would be a tasty treat. Changing gear will soon become a problem. Cadbury Dairy Milk is so good to eat. When you arrive at your destination,
had my choice here. I could do my top favourite chocolates. I don't love chocolate, so that wasn't going to work. Could have done my top 3 Beach Boys inspired songs.
Yes.
That was, of course, the Cadbury ad where they get in the car and the guy eats the gear stick. Instead, I have done top 3 commercials that use popular songs.
Okay.
Now, I want people to text in with this, 0448 08 1395. Here are my top 3. You can hit number 1 there, Will.
I saw it written and I saw it say.
I don't know what this is an ad for.
Yeah, now this is probably the least known one I've picked. It's called, the song is Pink Moon by Nick Drake. It was used in 1999 by Volkswagen to advertise their Cabrio, which is a convertible car.
Strong number 3 for me, that one. I don't know what the other two are.
Nick Drake.
Yeah, that was, I thought I'd throw an obscure one in there. All right, second one.
Take my hand and come with me because you look so fine that I really want to make you mine.
Yeah, I remember that one.
Yeah, that was used in 2003 by Jet for the Apple iPod. That song was released in 2003, and once Apple picked it up, they used it for one of their first iPods. It then led Jet to sell 3.5 million albums, basically, after that ad. Now, my other one there, Will?
Do something. Anything.
Say you want a revolution, well, you know.
So we all know who that is. Of course, the Beatles with Revolution, used in 1988 for a Nike Air commercial.
Well, I think
there's a lot of good Nike ads. There was a great Nike ad that used Search and Destroy by the very loud and excellent band from Detroit, the Stooges. There should be a law that prevents you from using certain songs. I mean, how can you legally use any song off Pet Sounds and turn into an ad for chocolate?
I mean, there were several versions of that Cadbury one.
I'm going to say I'm going to put in number 1 place the Beatles Nike ad. Number 2, the Nick Drake song that I didn't know for a product I wasn't familiar with, the car. And 3rd, Jet, because I just can't do Jet. David?
I'm putting Pet Sounds bottom. I'm putting Nick Drake first just because I like him. But I'm not criticising you, Luce, but as we've been discussing this, my good mate Ben, man about town, raconteur, he's texted me in relation to Beach Boys themed jingles. The glaring omission in the list is Adelaide's own Bob Moran. So can we throw that one into the mix as well?
Yeah, I think it's put it in there. If there's anything else that needs to be put on the podium, let us know, 8223 or text us on the Telstra Stormont Barker text line. Sam's just said a Clive Palmer ad.
What about that lunatic? What about, there's a report going around that Palmer has bought Hitler's car.
Yeah.
Have you seen that?
Yeah,
Adolf Hitler's car. I mean, I suppose, you got that much money. What's the old saying? What do you get the man who's got everything? Yeah, Hitler's Mercedes.
Sense of morality would be good.
Yeah,
5AA News Time.
Yeah.
Back with more shortly.
Hey, it's Callum here. Looking for something small, medium or large? Edwardstown Mazda have most models in stock, ready to drive away. You can feel confident in the team at Edwardstown Mazda.
It's gotta be
edwardstownmazda.com.au, LNVD 207428.
everybody loves their country.
I'm Anthony Fay from Ray White Real Estate. During open inspections, modern window furnishings done well really get the offers rolling in. They bring a look of quiet luxury to a home. Smart home improvements add value. Stunning curtains and shears are a feature that really makes a difference.
Improve, invest and add value with beautiful curtains and shears to match by country. Visit countryblinds.com.au for a free measure and quote.
Everybody loves their country.
5AA Breakfast is streaming live right now. To watch, simply head online to 5AA Facebook or search 5AA on YouTube. This is Adelaide's 5AA.
A possible shower 27 today with the 8:30 news. I'm Mel Usher.
Physio Extra offers clinical Pilates and group exercise classes claimable on private health. 6 locations. physioextra.com.
Vladimir Putin has lashed out as economic sanctions in the wake of the Ukraine invasion start to cripple Russia's economy. Europe correspondent Brett McLeod has more.
President Putin, at an emergency meeting of his economic advisers, called the West an empire of lies. Sanctions have led Russia's central bank to more than double interest rates to 20% as the ruble collapsed to its lowest level ever. The US has now imposed sanctions on Russia's central bank, while Britain has banned all Russian ships from its ports. And football bodies UEFA and FIFA have bowed to pressure to ban Russian teams from all international competition, including the World Cup.
A new poll shows many Australians believe Russia's invasion poses a threat to our national security. Political editor Michael Packey has more.
A special news poll shows 64% of voters believe Russia poses a significant threat to Australia's national security. The view is held across party lines and most age groups. On the whole, China is still considered the biggest threat to the Asia-Pacific. The poll suggests most people believe the coalition and Prime Minister Scott Morrison is best placed to handle the situation compared to Labor. Over recent weeks, Mr Morrison has taken a hardline stance against Russia and condemned China for failing to call out Vladimir Putin's invasion of Ukraine.
The rush to get kids vaccinated against COVID has slowed in SA. 1,372 under-11s were jabbed last week, compared to 21,000 in the last week of January. It comes as more kids are absent from school, either with COVID or due to close contact rules. Family First is calling for an immediate end to COVID vaccine mandates. Upper House candidate Tom Kenyon says it's time to follow some other Western countries and relax the rules.
We think they're counterproductive. All they're doing at the moment is withholding good public servants, people, first responders, fire, police, nurses, teachers, all being withheld from the people of South Australia because of vax mandates that are no longer needed.
It's 10 years since the Gonski Review was delivered. The Education Union says it's about time the Morrison government provided urgent funding for public schools in line with the review's recommendations. Karina Haythorpe from the union says clear recommendations have been largely ignored.
We've got deep inequality for our students, with government funding for private schools growing at around 2.5 times the rate of public schools in the last decade, and that has a direct impact on teaching and learning in our schools.
Queensland's flood crisis continues. 8 people have now died. Premier Anastasia Palaszczuk has told Today it's been a devastating disaster.
Over 30 locations across the southeast had rainfalls in excess of 1,000 millimetres. So phenomenal. It's off the charts.
The Brisbane River is expected to peak again in the next hour or two. And more than 30 years after the original movie, Beetlejuice is getting a sequel. Original cast members Michael Keaton and Winona Ryder will return for the new film. Now turning to 5AA Sport, it's over to Tom Wren.
Thank you, Mel. Some good injury news for Port Adelaide, with Connor Rosie set to play in Saturday's pre-season hit-out against Adelaide. The 22-year-old didn't play in the second half in last week's practice match against Gold Coast after hurting his ankle, but he's told Channel 9 it's not serious.
Yeah, I twisted it a couple of weeks ago at training and it was a little bit sore, and twisted it a little bit on the weekend again, but it should be fine for next week. They were just a bit precautionary with it. Probably would have played if it was a proper game.
Still on footy, and Western Bulldogs coach Luke Beveridge has called on the club to draw inspiration from Marxist philosopher Rosa Luxemburg and the Argentinian-born revolutionist Che Guevara in their drive for success this season. The club launching the season at Federation Square in Melbourne last night. Australia's cricket selectors are facing a dilemma ahead of Friday's first test in Pakistan, with plenty of uncertainty surrounding the conditions. Former Test captain Mark Taylor believes all-rounder Cameron Green will allow the Aussies to play 2 spinners. Taylor says selectors need to give the side flexibility.
My recollection is I'm going back a quarter of a century here, so, but the pitches over there will always pretty hard. They don't tend to break up as much Indian pitches do. They don't tend to turn square.
And the Wildcats will return back to Perth today for the first time in 2 months. Perth ending their mammoth stay on the road with a come-from-behind 89 to 78-point victory over the Tassie Jack Jumpers in Tasmania. And that's the 5AA Sport.
Now checking 5AA traffic.
At O'Halloran Hill, very heavy delays from 2 earlier crashes on the Southern Expressway. That's between Majors Road and Darlington on the down track. Delays back to Main South Road and beyond. Avoid if you can. Cavan got another collision there. Cavan Road at Balderstone Road and Semaphore South. Urgent civil works, Military Road near Bower Road. Restrictions are in place. Cameras Doothie Street, Malvern and West Terrace at Strathalbyn. REA members can now save 4 cents per litre per day at EG and Caltex, Woolworths Fuel and Convenience convenience stores. Search REA member benefits today. Terms and conditions apply. Adelaide's most accurate traffic on 5AA.
Now the 5AA forecast.
Get amazing deals on Mitsubishi and used cars at Wayville Mitsubishi and Southern Mitsubishi, driven by Australian Motors.
Possible shower and 27 today, partly cloudy tomorrow 28, then mostly sunny on Thursday 31. Right now it's 19 degrees. More news as it happens on 5AA.
If your business could do with more business, you should try advertising here on the radio. 5AA can help turn your brand into a household name. We could do it with a jingle, or a really funny ad, or something deadly serious. Our audience is big enough to fill Adelaide Oval again and again. Get in touch with 5AA to find out how we can give your business more business.
Hi there, I'm Grishma, a Specsavers optometrist. Did you know that every Specsavers is locally owned and operated by an optometrist, just like me? We believe eye tests should reveal more, not cost more, which is why we include an OCT advanced 3D eye scan with every eye test, at no extra charge. Does your optometrist? Experience the Specsavers difference and book your eye test today. We're here to look after your eye health and keep you safe in store. Visit specsavers.com.au.
Hi, Susanna Toop here. Tenants, you're going to love this. Toop & Toop now gives you early access to rental properties up to 2 months before public release, with alerts direct to your inbox. Find your next home sooner. Register now at toop.com.au/rent.
WOMADelaide returns to its spiritual home in Botanic Park for its 30th anniversary with a birthday party to remember. Catch artists like Paul Kelly, the Cat Empire, Goanna, Joseph Tawadros with the Adelaide Symphony Orchestra and more from March 11 to 14. With a reduced capacity this year, tickets are selling fast. So make sure you don't miss out on WOMADelaide, March 11 to 14. Book your tickets and see the full lineup now at womadelaide.com.au.
Gliderroll Garage Doors' new Platinum and Native Series sectional doors are here. Gliderroll.com.au.
You're listening to 5AA Breakfast. David Penberthy and Will Goodings.
21 to 9. Well, the Podium generated plenty of conversation coming through on the Telstra Store Mount Barker text line this morning. Lots of people suggesting things like Start Me Up, the Windows 95 campaign for Stuart and Hope Valley. That is a very famous one. That might be... in my lifetime, that might be the most... I reckon that would be what I put as the number one most famous ad campaign. For its use of music and the moment... it was
terrific.
In 95, computers...
But what a total abomination that something as lame and as annoying as turning on Microsoft Windows can debase one of the greatest rock songs ever by the greatest rock band of all time.
I would switch it around. Look what a great rock song can do for something that's otherwise lame and boring. It made it cool and interesting.
Bill Gates.
It did make...
Although a few stories have emerged since Bill Gates' departure from Microsoft that make it sound like he would not have necessarily been out of place on tour with the Rolling Stones.
Yeah,
bit of a lad.
That is true. Lots of people too suggesting Phil Collins, of course, with Cadbury. Andrea's made that point on Twitter and others have as well. And Cadbury was the starting point for this whole conversation, of course, with them celebrating their 100th birthday. Professor Robert Crawford from RMIT has written More Than a Glass and a Half, a history of Cadbury, and he joins us on 5AA Breakfast now. Professor Crawford, good morning to you.
Good morning.
So, 100 years in operation. I mean, chocolate's been around for as long as humans have been, just about. Tell us about the significance of this country and what they've managed to achieve in a century of operation here in Australia.
Well, actually, they go back even further than a century, and South Australia was actually one of the first markets for Cadbury. There's ads there in the 1850s with Cadbury being imported into Adelaide. So actually, South Australia is sort of one of the first big markets outside of the UK. But the centenary is actually of the Claremont factory in Tasmania. And so what sort of happened there was during the First World War, the British government sort of put a ban on exports of chocolate. And by 1979 and 18, there was hardly any Cadbury in Australia at all. And so after the war, Cadbury decided, well, look, Australia was a really important market. We're going to have to build a factory. And they looked around. They looked at Melbourne. They looked at Sydney. They didn't really look at Adelaide. It was a bit warm. But they ended up going down to Tassie and sort of built the factory there. That became a bit of an icon.
So was that decision largely climate-driven?
Look, it was a few things. Climate was pretty important because back in the day, refrigeration still was pretty simplistic. But also there was electricity down there. So Australia was starting to sort of become much more attached to electricity at that time. So cheaper electricity. And of course, a big one, land was a little bit cheaper down there than, say, in Melbourne or Sydney. So it was sort of a confluence of all these things coming together.
So your 1850 block of chocolate, or whatever format it came in, how did it differ from what we understand chocolate to be in 2022?
Look, what we tend to look at, I guess, with Cadbury is the Cadbury Dairy Milk brand. And that only really starts being manufactured in Australia in 1928. In the UK, they were exporting it from about 1906. So the chocolate there in the 1850s, look, I think it would taste a little bit different to what we were used to, a little bit more bitter, and certainly not as milky.
When you look at the brand now, I mean, it's sort of overarching mega brand. Now you can go down to your local supermarket and there's Oreo-flavoured Cadbury chocolate. There's chocolate with bits of M&Ms in it. There's all these sort of sister brands that they partner up with to do all of these new flavours. But in the early days, what did they sell? Was it just like one type of chocolate?
Yeah, I mean, they sort of had early on. They sort of had a bit of a mixture. I mean, as I say, when we think about of chocolate, we do think of the milk chocolate, but they sort of had lines like Mexican chocolate, which was sort of quite bitter. They did have a few other lines, and of course, cocoa was a key part of their business as well. And really, it's dairy milk, which sort of really in the post-war years, really starts becoming the big sort of cornerstone of the brand. And as you say, like the way in which they release new products, that sort of really kicks off in the 1980s as they start to go, look, we're starting to lose a bit of market share. Let's put out, new range of products, and they really embrace marketing. And we're still in that sort of situation today where you just, go into the stores and you just keep seeing new ones. They had, when they joined up with Kraft, they created the Vegemite chocolate, which I never had, and I don't think I ever will. But you can sort of see that they sort of have been trying the whole time to sort of put new things together. And, there are things that have been phenomenally successful. So the marvellous chocolate, which is sort of a mixture of all things, was designed in Australia, but they're making it overseas now. Similarly, I think one that is super interesting is not Caramel Koala, but Freddo Frog, which was actually bought as part when they bought out McRobertson's in 1967. That entered the Cadbury fold. But they started exporting Freddo Frogs back to the UK in the 70s, and then sort of I think it was in the 90s, there was a bit of outrage in the UK when the price of Freddo Frogs went up, and a whole lot of people got pretty upset. So Freddo's gone from being this sort of little Aussie to going internationally.
Can we talk about that glass and a half of milk adage? We got so many texts from people wondering, is it still a glass and a half? Was it ever a glass and a half? Was it a clever bit of sloganing, or was there some science to it?
Yeah, look, it was genuine. It was a glass and a half in every every pound block, or every half pound block, I think. And so they took it very seriously, and that was the other thing I should add was going to Tasmania. They had access to the cows there as well. So they used proper milk, and they did at the time there was a lot of science to try and get the conditions in Tasmania to be the same as what they were in the UK, and so they had to move things around. But the milk was absolutely vital. The cows, of course, in Australia are a little bit different to the UK, so that's why there's a little bit of a different taste. But they still, to today, even though there's concerns about the size of the blocks, etc., the proportions that they do is still the same, and it's still the glass and a half is there to the half pound block there. But yeah, the fact that the chocolate bars themselves vary is a little bit different, but I guess the ratio there is right.
Well, it's been a hugely successful business, and it was a fascinating chat with you, Professor Crawford. We thank you for your time, and we'll play you out with an ad that as a 53-year-old, almost 53-year-old who grew up in the 1980s. I have very fond memories of Professor Julia Sumner Miller doing this ad.
The laws and principles of physics never change, nor do the goodness, taste, and quality of Cadbury Dairy Milk Chocolate. It's the one that most people prefer, because only Cadbury Dairy Milk Chocolate has that great Cadbury taste, and only Cadbury Dairy Milk Chocolate has the goodness and nutrition of a glass and a half of full cream dairy milk in every 200-gram block. So when you think of chocolate, think of Cadbury with that famous glass and a half.
That's excellent. Professor Robert Crawford from our MIT. More than a glass and a half. A history of Cadbury was our guest. 12 to 9, and it's time to check traffic.
At O'Halloran Hill, very heavy delays from two earlier crashes on the Southern Expressway. That's between Majors Road and Darlington on the down track. Delays back to Main South Road and beyond. Also very heavy Lonsdale Road as well. Avoid it if you can. At Cavan, got a collision on Cavan Road at Balderstone Road and Semaphore South. Urgent sewer works there. Military Road near Bower Road. Cameras today, Brighton Road, Brighton. Duthie Street, Melbourne. Is your car making a strange sound? Book in for a Petters $28 brake, steering and suspension check. Get peace of mind today. Visit petters.com.au. Adelaide's most accurate traffic on 5AA.
Shh. Can you hear that? Hang on. Here it comes. The new Kia Niro has landed. Available as a hybrid, plug-in hybrid and full electric. It's Australia's broadest electric SUV range. Technology moves fast. Meet 3 ways to catch up. The new Kia Niro electric SUV range. Check with your local Kia dealer for details.
Kia, movement that inspires.
Under 16 years of Labor, South Australia was going down a rough road. But the road is a lot smoother now. Under the Liberals, we've had the highest economic growth in the nation and our lowest unemployment rate in more than 40 years. A re-elected Marshall Liberal government will support businesses to keep employing and training young people. Why risk going back to Labor? Together, let's build a stronger future.
Authorised by S. Meldrum, Liberal Party of Australia, SA Division 104 Greenhill Road, Unley SA 5061.
Hello, Frank Walker from National Tiles. National Tiles have just landed an all-new hybrid range of classic oak flooring. This amazing, fully waterproof Timberlook classic oak flooring comes in extra long planks, just like the real thing. DIY this fabulous all-new oak flooring for under $60 per metre, or we'll lay it for you for just $27 per metre more. So check out National Tiles' all-new classic oak flooring in-store or at nationaltiles.com.au now.
Let's get business back on track. Let's reopen and rebuild, rehire and regrow. If you're looking to make up for lost ground, Judo Bank is ready to support Australian businesses recovering from the pandemic. So, whatever your business is longing to get back to, talk to your broker or a Judo banker about an SME recovery loan today. Judo Bank, boldly backing business.
Eligibility criteria, fees, charges and terms and conditions apply. Visit judo.bank.
9 News is the one that's always been live and local. 9 News, made in Adelaide for Adelaide.
Gliderall Garage Doors, adding strength, safety and style to South Australian homes for over 40 years. Gliderall.com.au.
You're listening to 5AA Breakfast. David Penberthy and Will Goodings.
There's your Cadbury ad for everyone who wanted it on the podium. Bit of Phil Collins. Nice work, Sam.
As heard in The Hangover.
Yeah, there's another iconic use of it. Ray in Westlakes is called in. Morning to you, Ray.
Good morning, fellas. How are you?
Good, mate.
Good, thanks, mate.
Just give you a buzz yesterday about for the rain. I was sitting inside our lounge rooms at the back of the house, and their house is on the back onto the boulevard. And my wife Kay said, "Mate, you better have a look at this." I looked out, and I couldn't even see across the boulevard. The rain was that heavy. It was pelting, mate. And then I looked at the downpipe of my gutters over the tanks, and the water was that heavy. It was gushing. It wasn't even going into the tank. It was just overflowing down the side. The gutters were blocked, and I had 2 inches of water on my patio out the back.
Is that right? Did it cause any damage, Ray?
No, it didn't. Luckily, I had my wet weather gear on. I was up continually unblocking the bloody drain out in the rain.
Oh, gee, that's a job. At least there'll be a
Yeah,
little...
it was, mate. It was real good. I felt I didn't need a shower afterwards, that's for sure.
Hey, Ray, we'll give you a box of the Cadbury favourites on the 100th birthday of Cadbury's. You can share those with the wife in what will be significantly drier weather, I'm sure, today. It's 8 minutes to 9, and it's time to go behind closed doors thanks to Aussie Fast Transport Solutions. They're looking for subcontract drivers now. Call 13 13 64. That's 13 13 64.
And when we get behind closed...
You're listening to 5AA Breakfast. David Penberthy and Will Goodings.
And welcome back to 5AA Breakfast. And David Penberthy, welcome back to you too.
Yeah, g'day Will, how you going?
Oh, I'm really well, David.
I'd love to go on the Garn.
Coming up in the next half hour.
It's pronounced Garn because of the Afghans from Afghanistan.
Coming up in the next half hour, we'll be talking to a man who...
You're talking to me? You're talking to me? You're talking to me? That was a great movie, wasn't it? Bobby De Niro.
Yeah, it sure was, David. Anyway, we'll be touching on the presidential debate coming up.
Sydney, do you think there'll ever be a time when you can stand in a room with me and not think of me as the president? Love that movie too, The American President.
Yep, that was a good one.
Michael Douglas, Annette Bening.
Yep, I did like that movie.
Somewhere in Libya right now, there's a janitor going about his business and doesn't know he's about to die in a massive explosion. Great movie.
Yep, and later on this morning, we'll be asking you to call in on 8223 0000.
If you can't approach this professionally, 007, then 008 can replace you.
Goldfinger?
Yeah, the best Bond movie ever.
Oh, by far, yep. And we'll be discussing more fireworks cancellations as COVID-19 takes its toll on that form of entertainment.
You're going to see some fireworks now.
What was that one from?
Oh, no, it just sounds like something that would be in a movie.
And we still have a Waller's gift card to give to somebody.
Where'd you get that card? You calling me a cheat?
Was that from a...
Nah, but it probably would have been.
And before 9 o'clock, as usual, we'll be going behind closed doors.
Who knows what lurks behind the closed door? Love that movie.
Oh, was that a...
If it was a movie.
Oh.
Felt like living in some sort of a disaster movie in the western suburbs yesterday. The SES we spoke about earlier did an incredible job in clearing the streets, blocking off areas where cars couldn't transit. They did a wonderful job. Bretton Clark is the state duty officer at the SES and is on the line now. Bretton, how many jobs did you have yesterday, and are any of them still ongoing?
Yeah, good morning. So look, yesterday across the state, 235 requests for assistance, but obviously the majority of those were, after that significant storm cell passed through in the western suburbs, so they had about 150 requests in that period alone, most of those calls coming within a 1 or 2 hour period. And crews have worked through, and there's only, I believe, a couple of jobs sort of like outstanding as of midnight. So the crews kept going until just after midnight to clear most of those.
And you guys have got some volunteers heading interstate as well.
Yeah, that's right. So we have 12 Swiftwater technicians. They're flying out 9:30 this morning to New South Wales to support the severe weather that they're actually having over there. So that comprises of 10 SES personnel and 2 Metropolitan Fire personnel. So they'll make up a good contingent to support New South Wales.
Yeah, we've been talking a lot about what happened here in the western suburbs yesterday, but and clearly as a local story, it's something that affected a heck of a lot of people in South Australia, but everyone's more than aware that the real human tragedy in terms of loss of life and property damage is unfolding on the East Coast. It's just shocking over there, isn't it?
It is, and both in Queensland and New South Wales, and they're expected to still have some significant weather for the next few days. And then there's the clean-up efforts that need to occur after that as well. So, whatever I suppose we can do to support New South Wales and Queensland, we're doing our best to provide that support.
Good on you, Brett. You guys did a wonderful job yesterday, and it's a testament to everyone that works at the SES. You're sending people off to help out interstate as well. Bretton Clark, the SES State Duty Officer. We got some more boxes of chocolates to give away. Matthew gets one for texting us earlier on the Telstra Storm Out Barker text line, some pictures of the flooding that happened in his part of the west. And Kane Golden Grove, you can get one as well. You were a passionate fan of the Turkish Delight, so you get a couple of those in the Cadbury favourites box as well. So we've got to support.
Well, you're just giving them people who agree with you, are you? Well, people who just happen to like Turkish Delights enough to get a prize these days, is it?
Generally how it works. Yep, pretty much. See, this is what happens. Well, usually you're here in the studio to give away the prizes on merit. I just give them away to people who agree with me. So, well,
I'll be back tomorrow.
Yeah, that's
Normal
right.
Order will be resumed.
Exactly right. There can be some sort of rigour around the whole prize-giving process. It's going to be
I
good.
often just give prizes to people because they live in Mitchell Park.
Oh, okay. Yeah, well, let's not reveal all of our tricks.
Tina would attest to that.
Okay, we've got a bit of a headline.
Do we ever? H2 Whoa! Wet and Wild unveil new theme park for Adelaide's West. H2 Whoa. It's going to be on Fredericks Road. Scotty just sent me a text of a photo he took there yesterday. It looks like the Amazon.
It's been great watching on TV, David, but it's going to be better having him back in the studio tomorrow morning. Looking forward to that. We are out of time. Graham Goodings takes over for Leon Biner after 9 o'clock, and we will see you tomorrow from 6.
You know us for our bright blue vans. Metropolitan Plumbing, Electrical and Air Conditioning. We are the proud winners of the Product Review Award for Plumbing in Australia for 2020 and